Okay, so we are on. So this is the Goffstown Budget Committee, and today is November 6th.
It's out.
Now it's out?
Let's keep going.
Technical difficulties.
All right, technical difficulties, so we'll hang in there unless that, there we go. All right, this is the Goffstown Budget Committee. Today is November 6th, 2025, and we are going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we're going to have a roll call. We'll start over there.
Israel Carey.
Joe Alexander.
Olivia Welterdahl.
Doug Pounds.
Mark Renaud, Village Water Precinct.
Brian Mazer.
Peter Grigorokakis.
Jared Talbot, School Board Rep.
Elizabeth Dubrul.
Samantha Kearns.
Richard Manzo, Select Board Rep.
Laura Stevens.
Rich Sherrill.
James Piercy.
Allison DeCesare.
And I think we have a full house tonight, so we have no absences or excused absences to record. Okay. Joe, you have something?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I know the agenda you have planned to do a presentations from department heads tonight regarding the select board voted budget that came over to us. I would like to make a motion to table this discussion for a week, and we pick it up next Thursday. If somebody will second it, I'll give you reasons for it. Okay, Brian seconds.
Okay, so you want to speak to your motion?
Yeah, so the reason why I want to table this is because I feel like we're at the same place we were last year, if not worse than we were, in a position worse than we were last year. I'm looking at the first page and it's a 13.6% increase proposed over the 2025 approved voter budget. I feel like this year the select board has done a lot to blame the budget committee for the cuts that we made in order to get a budget passed at 1.7% last year. And I feel like we're going to go down this same path. And I want to give the select board another opportunity on Monday night at their meeting to send us back a budget that is not a 13.6% increase. So I want to table this budget for 1 week. We don't meet next Tuesday, so I want to have an opportunity for them to have more time to evaluate their budget and then send us back a more reasonable budget.
Okay, Brian, do you want to speak to your second?
No, he encapsulated exactly what I would say, because it's going to be the same conversation. And me personally, I don't think the select board is doing their due diligence to get it so palpable for us to have a decent conversation so it presented to the community where it'll pass. I think 13.6% will not pass the community. So maybe revisit and hopefully bring it down to a reasonable number. We can have some meaningful conversation.
Okay, Peter?
I honestly strongly agree. I heard a little bit about their last meeting, so I went and watched a little bit, and I specifically heard conversations where they were saying, hey, should we try to cut this stuff now? Should we try to decide what we should be prioritizing now before we send it to the budget? And I heard commentary that, no, let's just send it to the budget. And I'm kind of saying their words for them, but that's kind of how I heard that, and I don't like that. I thought the way that I've set up my questions in the past is to get our committees to try to do a lot of, I understand they're not going to do all the hard work before they get to us, but to do a lot of that and be able to present a budget to us that they're saying, this is what we believe we should be presenting to voters. And I don't know that I feel like we're getting that based off of the comments that I got, that I actually saw in their select board meeting.
Okay, Olivia? Oh, I'm sorry, Laura. I didn't see you. I was turned this way. Let me do Laura first and then Olivia.
I think we're here to do a job. It doesn't really matter what the select board did. We can take accountability as the budget committee and do what we're here to do. We've called department heads here tonight. I'm not interested in blaming or not blaming anyone, and I say we just do what we're here to do. The select board's job is to say what they think departments really need. Our job is to ensure that taxpayer dollars are being spent wisely, and I think we can start that now.
Olivia?
Going kind of off what Laura said,
I think it's important for us to hear the reasoning from the department heads, why they feel that these budgets are what they were prepared to present us with. Like we've been hearing both at CIP and across the board is the cost of things in general are going up. So I'm interested to see how that can reflect to you over the past year.
Okay, more discussion? Peter?
I would have a question. Is there anything, when I'm looking at this, I know we're going to be going to presentations, but before I even get that far, is there anything glaring that I would see in terms of the increase in the operational budget that is really just an offset revenue-wise, right? That we have the offsetting revenue and it just looks like a huge increase?
Well, I think we'll get to that in the presentations.
I totally understand. The reason I'm asking though is I just want to know if like, am I missing something? Am I missing something where it's like,
Well, you can't miss anything because nothing's been presented yet.
Okay.
So, Joe?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I agree with Laura. I think we definitely have a job to do, but I believe that the select board also has a job to do, and I don't think that they did it. Now, what's happening is what they did was add in basically everything that the budget committee cut last year in CIP. They added it back in. And I would disagree with you in one sense where it's not the select board jobs to represent like town department heads. It's their job to represent the people of Goffstown. And if they see that these things are specifically needed, then go ahead. But I don't think they really did their job to send us a budget that's 13.6%. So I'm here with you, and I'm here trying to negotiate in good faith with the select board, get it to a budget that's reasonable to help support the people in Goffstown. But unfortunately, we're here, but they didn't show up. They didn't do their job. So that's why I'm doing this. I want to give them an opportunity on Monday night to readdress the budget and look at additional ways that they can make it good for us, and then send it back. And you and I and we all talk in good faith. We're here, like we'll do our job. Like I'm not saying I don't want to do the job, but I'm saying like they didn't give us a good starting point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, I know that it's not up to the select board to like speak only for department heads. I just know that they work, I believe anyway, they work in good faith with department heads, because I also believe that department heads use good faith when saying what their department needs to appropriately serve the town.
Any other comments? I guess Sam?
My only comment would be, I think that if, in returning this to the select board, it's entirely possible that they may not make any changes, and then we will have lost a week of time. And in keeping all of our time kind of, it's valuable, I would say that we just start now. And the select board has the opportunity to make future cuts. I mean, until we submit it to the town for, like, to the warrant article, they can continue to make cuts.
To respond to that, if I could,
Yeah, and then I'm gonna say.
it's our budget now. They sent it to us.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
any cuts that they make or propose to make, we would have to agree with them because it's our budget. So what I'm saying is I want to give them another opportunity. I think it's not unreasonable. I also think like, I've been on the committee 9 years and this is pretty early in the budget season. So it's not like we're like up against the wire, we need to approve a budget, right? Like we have plenty of time ahead of us.
So I guess my question would be, I actually agree with Joe and Peter. I mean, Peter's comments have really resonated with me, that the feeling that maybe they did not spend as much time on prioritizing as they should have. I guess my only question is, because I also agree with you, that could we send the budget back and still move forward with the presentations? The presentations are made, the people are here, we would lose a week of time. Could we move forward with that, or how does the committee feel about that? It's just my compromise that I've thrown out there. You can respond to that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with moving forward with presentations as long as we can like get some notification if the select board decided to make changes to the budgets we already heard. We can just get a quick like piece of paper of like the changes that they've asked us to make on their behalf or something like that. But I think that it's reasonable we have the people with us like to hear the presentations.
Well, we wouldn't have to make them on their behalf because we're
Oh, that's
sending
right.
the
You
budget
send it
back to them.
Yes.
We're still just going ahead with the presentations.
Technically, we're tabling the budget, so like, we wouldn't have any discussion, right? If I'm thinking like rules, like we wouldn't have any discussion on
Right,
the budget until
Right,
like,
there would be
they
no
make
discussion.
recommendations back to us.
What, I'm sorry, I thought that your motion was tabling presentations, and this is, I guess this is just more procedural. What exactly was your motion?
I was gonna table the budget until
Okay.
next week. I mean, we can hear presentations about the budget, but
do you want to table the budget, or do you want to send it back?
I guess I don't know I don't wanna table the budget. But if we send it back to them, then we can't hear presentations today? I guess-
Sure, we can hear presentations.
Okay, so
Remember, for
I
the
would
school
amend my
board, we
motion to
hear
say
them
I'll send it
before-
back to the select board for further review. We'll continue on with our presentations, but I'd like them to reevaluate the budget.
Okay, so he's changing his motion.
Okay,
Do you
so
have the motion? Do I have a second?
Yes.
Sending the budget back. Sending that budget back
And Brian has still
to
seconded.
select board.
Laura?
So if we can't discuss, then can we ask questions?
Absolutely. Okay, remember, last year, we got our school budget presentation at the same time as the school board got it. So we all got the presentation, we had the joint presentation, and then the school board took it and made whatever changes they were gonna make to it.
That's fine, I don't
So
know where the
there's-
line is.
There's no restriction on asking questions, on having the same presentations we would have had otherwise. It's still the same deal. We're just not gonna dive into the budget, which we wouldn't have done anyways. And if there are changes to the budget, the select board could go ahead and make those changes without submitting them to us and then us having to make the motions and go through it. We're asking them to get, this is a negotiation, but we are really far apart, I think. And I think there needs to be a better effort on setting priorities from the select board and trying to get us a little closer together before we start that negotiation. Yes, Richard?
I would then ask for a sense of where closer together actually is.
Yeah.
Because it seems that we are in the exact position that we were in last year, where we've sent a budget, and now it's time for the budget committee to review the budget that we put together. I definitely would not say that there are a lot of things in this budget that are frivolous. I wouldn't say that any of the things that we've added back in are simply to undo the work of the budget committee. It's rather to catch up on things that are needed to maintain the level of services that we have in this town that people rely on. We're not just representing the department heads, we are also representing the people who use these services. And it gets to a certain point where costs rise year over year. Maintaining a level budget is a budget cut because we would have to ratchet back services to match that. So I want to know, what is a good point, what is a reasonable point that we could scale back to?
So 2 years ago, a budget went to, on the town side, went to voters that was an 11, I believe it was an 11% increase. Is that correct? Do you remember, Joe? Was that what it was?
Something like that.
And it got voted down.
Yes.
Pretty substantially voted down. So I think you can use as a guide that a budget with that level of increase is probably not going to pass without some extraordinary circumstance that's pushing that number.
Okay.
So, I mean, and last year we passed a budget that was 1.7% increase. It didn't pass by that much, to be honest. So, I mean, I think you can, right there, you can see, well, it's going to have to be somewhere in between those two. Olivia, and then Jared.
I think my concern is that the department heads are asked to create budgets. They create mindful and thought-out budgets that are not, as Richard said, frivolous. There's not exorbitant things being asked for. They're not over the top. And whether right or wrong, those things still have to happen. You know what I mean? Trucks still have to be replaced. Buildings still have to be maintained. People still have to be paid. And so I think that to come to the table and immediately say that this needs to be returned because I don't like the number isn't helpful either. Because it's not like we're going to keep sending it back until it says, oh, hey, it's only a 5% increase. You know what I mean? I feel like it's a very slippery slope of having a concept of just no increase.
Well, so Jared, let me just respond to that and then I'll let you go. But I don't think anybody is suggesting that the budget as it's presented now is frivolous. I don't think anybody's saying that, but I think at the same time, it's more than we can afford. It's more than the voters are going to support. And if you don't want a default budget, you're gonna have to bring it in closer to what there is considered
Right, I'm not
reasonable.
saying that we
So
shouldn't be
they are in the
making
better
cuts.
position to set priorities than we are, because they are managing that government on a day-to-day basis. Did they do it? I don't know. I didn't appreciate spending the past year being the punching bag for the select board. And that, to me, is an indication that, combined with the fact that they did not set priorities in this budget, or at least not vocally, makes me think, you know what? Let them take another pass at it. If they, whatever they produce is what they produce, and then we'll get to work and we'll do our job, but at least I will feel a little better, me personally, if I know that they've actually done their job. Laura, you go first.
No,
Oh, Jared, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So on an island. No, the school board, just like the water precincts, submit the budget. You know, I have always said from the very beginning, it would be great to know from the budget committee before we present our budgets, what is livable. And I want to echo exactly what Select Person Manzo said. If this board, which I'm not going to vote for this motion, either for or against, if this board is going to send it back, I think it's also appropriate to say, well, what could the budget committee live with? To say, what is the goal that they should be shooting for? And I think, I just want to echo what Richard said, and I think that if this is going to be sent back, that should be a part of it as well, to give them some understanding of what this board feels like.
Okay.
Let
so
Richard go first.
Yeah, the question is not what is a passable budget. The question is, what's the starting point where you would begin working on the budget?
Okay.
Even a default, I don't think maybe people do understand, they're not just saying, even a default is going to be an increase. There is no lowering at this point unless we want all services or important services to not exist, and maybe that's what some people want.
I'm not sure that is, I mean, I haven't looked at the numbers yet, but
Like,
that
isn't
did
a
not used
default
to be the
going
case
to
on the
be
town
higher?
side.
Though,
A default
this
was
year.
often lower than the current budget. So.
This
that-
year, it's pretty minimal.
No,
Is it?
From what I can see. The difference would be
because
relatively.
you have to account for,
10 years ago, a default budget on the town side
okay,
was
10
often
years ago was an
lower.
extremely different Goffstown.
I know, but my point is, we have
Ask
to look at these
Danielle. Can we
numbers.
ask Danielle? Or somebody?
So if we do get a chance to present this evening, again, Derek Horn, Town Administrator, the default budget is higher than the 2025 budget, specifically because we have 3 collective bargaining agreements that were previously approved by a majority of the voters, in some cases 2/3 of the voters.
Okay.
So I just don't want there to be a thought that there could be a decrease, because there will not be a decrease in this past year's budget.
Allison?
No, I'm good.
Oh, sorry, not you. Ryan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Going back to Richard's question, and me personally, where I would enter into a conversation would be around inflation or CPI. That's when I would enter into a conversation. So wherever the current CPI is or inflation, that's when I would have a conversation.
Peter?
I think I want to clarify on my end, because I specifically mentioned that, like, I watched the meeting, I saw comments out of the select board, and I don't like speaking for other people. Again, what I thought I saw from that select board meeting when you guys voted on sending this budget over to us, was discussion over whether or not you felt you should be sending that over to us now, and that you could do more work to it ahead of time to do some, like, prioritizing. I would never say, particularly, like, if we use the school as an example, I'm not going to say that any department is ever, like, acting in bad faith or the select board's acting in bad faith. That's not my question. The question is, right, school board has to make those questions of like, what are we going to, yes, you presented this to us, but even before it gets presented to the school board, department heads are making cuts, and I'm sure the department heads on this side are doing the same thing, right? Everyone's doing that. My question is specifically, did the select board do what they felt they could do before they sent it to us? I personally am not comfortable saying a number other than the fact that, like, the only thing I could say is what I think could pass, but I look at things on their merit, right? So if we truly have to have a 13% budget and that's what the select board believes, or 13% increase, and the select board believes this is what we have to present to the voters because this is what is in their best interest, then fine. I just felt like I saw a discussion at that select board that sounded like you guys were still trying to figure that out. If whether or not you should be rationing it down a little bit and prioritizing before it comes to us. Am I correct about that?
I would simply say that I think at the time that those comments were made, we were not talking about making cuts to the budget generally. We were talking about specific cuts to 2 vehicles at DPW totaling $50,000. And whether or not we would cut those, not even ask for them, or ask for them. I do believe that right before we voted to send this budget to the budget committee, we did make a number of cuts, totaling somewhere in the realm of $400,000. And again, it really does come down to, and I'm not even arguing the central point here. I'm simply trying to gain some clarity. Where is the target here? If you take everything on their merits, why are you sending the entire thing back? I think that we've asked for what we believe the town needs, and it's not the budget that we need to present to voters, it was the budget that we needed to present to the budget committee. And then the budget committee presents a budget to the voters.
I feel like this is a lot having to do with the fact that 2 years ago we were in a default budget and last year we kept it below 3%. Their needs have not changed or gone away just because we cut it out of the budget last year. And when you have 2 straight years of basically cutting pretty hardcore, I mean, Brian, you're talking about keeping it at just inflation, that's fine, but then your level, we're not getting anything, you're not improving anything, you're not making this town better, you're giving it just enough to survive. So that this problem is going to come up every single year because DPW's trucks aren't miraculously going to be better and don't need to be replaced at some point. So I mean, you really need to take that into consideration. The last 2 years, we butchered it. I mean, one was default, it just was what it was, but last year, and nothing's changed. So what do we want from them? You put this arbitrary number on it without even hearing what they're asking for. I mean, I'm saying arbitrary number, like, you guys are just saying, it's just too big, it's just too high. And I get that the voters may not always like that, but at some point, you have to invest in this town that we all live in, or it's going to go to hell.
More discussion. Olivia?
I think this is already setting the tone that we as a committee do not value our department heads. We do not value the work that people have put into presenting a budget. And we're not recognizing the fact that we're not going to submit a 13.6 increase. We know that that's not what we're going to present. Maybe the select board could have cut more. But we haven't even taken the time to hear from anyone, let alone talk about increases and what they need.
Yeah, I wouldn't even necessarily go that far. I would just, again, reiterate that I'm still not hearing any clear direction on where to go next. I know you mentioned 11% to 1%, but when you're talking about a starting point of 13%, that is just saying go lower. There's no direction. Where are we aiming for? that we can begin to have a productive conversation.
Well, I guess the thought would be is that we would vote to this motion. If this motion were to pass, we would then, I guess we could make a collective recommendation to the select board to come up with an increase of X, of 6% or 4%. I don't know, I'm just throwing pretend numbers here. But I think that we would have to vote to this motion and then, provide a guidance number. But I guess I would also argue that statement that I know last year, the select board, before they gave this budget to us, talked to all the department heads and said, is there any way that you can cut your budgets by 1%? And they could not, because, it's, I don't want to speak for any of our department heads, but it's probably very difficult to be like, which child do you love more, like which thing gets money and which thing doesn't, to ask them to make that decision. And so I guess that's part of our job, is to make those difficult decisions.
James, sorry.
So this may be the neophyte in me, but this conversation feels very theoretical, and we have the department heads here. I would like to table this motion until after we get the presentations, and then we can bring it back and decide what action we're taking on the budget at that point. Is that
Second.
within?
Second.
We have a motion on the table.
Yeah, the motion is to table the
Table it.
motion, which I just
Yeah.
seconded. So that is absolutely okay.
All right. I hate nested motions. All right, so we're gonna vote on whether, we're gonna vote on the nested motion because we have to. I have a first and I have a second. Hopefully there's not more discussion on that. Do we need to continue discussing before we vote on the motion to table the motion? Okay, all those in favor of tabling the motion, which means we would go ahead with our plan, what's on the schedule, and we would decide later if we're sending the budget back to the select board. All those in favor of tabling, raise your hand.
Sorry.
Give Sam a minute here to forward. Laura, Rich, James, and Allison.
That's 9.
Okay, so all those opposed, raise your hand. So that's Izzy, Joe, Doug, Brian, and me.
Mark, did you vote?
Mark, I'm sorry, did I not say Mark? I'm sorry.
Nope.
Okay, so that's 9 to,
Mark, did you vote yes
Mark
or no?
voted as 3.
I voted for, yes. Yeah.
One, two, 6. So that's 10-6. So 10-6 are in favor of,
We only
You can't have
15
10-6, we
people.
only have 15 people here.
sorry, 10-5.
Mark voted 4, did you get?
Yeah, Mark voted for the motion.
Okay. I'm in the wrong column, too. So that would be 11. I'm so sorry. You guys, it's their first
Okay,
real
it's
vote.
Izzy, Joe, Doug, Brian, and me. So that's 5 of us who voted against it.
So 10, no abstentions.
Right. No abstentions, so
Okay.
it's got to be 10 who voted for.
Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, I've got 10. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so it's 10-5 in
All right.
favor of tabling this motion.
Okay, so the motion has been tabled. We're going to go ahead and start our presentations. We can, somebody can untable the motion at a future date to reconsider sending the budget back. So, now that we're a half an hour into our meeting, let's go ahead and start the presentations. Derek and Danielle, if you could come up.
Good evening. what we'd like to do, start out with an overview of the town budget and highlight what some of the major increases that you will see. This is in tab 1 of your binder. You've got the PowerPoint presentation there. It's also available on the town website under the budget section. So as was discussed this evening, this has gone to department heads, presented to the select board for 2 meetings, and the select board deliberated on this Monday evening. And department heads are here to present to you this evening. Tonight will be the budget overview, town hall, police department, and fire department. And then next Thursday will be Public Works, Parks and Rec, and Goffstown Public Library. Getting into the 2026 proposed budget, the default budget, as I talked about a little bit, is a slight increase, just 1% over the 2025 approved budget. Again, most of those increases are contractual increases for priorly approved collective bargaining agreements that were approved by the voters at town meeting. And then there is a more significant increase in the proposed budget of about, right now, $3.6 million. And if you go to the next page, this really highlights where the majority of those increases are. 2/3 of those increases, just under $1.9 million, are in our capital improvements. One of the biggest differences that I want to point out between the town and the school is we bring all of our capital improvements to you for approval as part of the budget process. So we've got, $1.9 million in the 2026 change, which is very similar to what the school has been using in their new spending column. So we did make a modification to our budget reports this year. So you'll see a 2026 change column. $1.9 million is in CIP, and then the remainder are between the other departments, and those departments will present some of those highlights. To highlight some of the overall costs, again, the town has experienced rising costs of supplies, uniforms, our hardware and software. We also have increases in solid waste tipping and recycling fees. One of the items that you'll see in both our default budget and our proposed budget is we have a new state mandated fee at landfills, so that will show up on both the appropriation side as well as the revenue side. We have insurance increases. This year, we're very fortunate. Health Trust, our experience was much better this past year, so our health and dental insurance only went up 3.7%. Primex is the exact opposite. We're seeing about a $70,000 increase on our property liability. We had previously been part of a program that capped increases at 9%. That agreement ended, and we're currently not eligible to get back into that program. And specifically, one of those big costs that it was the ambulance that was totaled in 2021. So that's a pretty expensive hit for Primex, as well as some other replacements. On the personnel side, in our default budget, we've got our collective bargaining agreements, but what you'll see in the change column is about half of our workforce, 80 full-time equivalents, are non-union employees. So there are a couple different changes this year. One, we have moved non-union wage increases to January 1st. We had previously done those wage changes on July 1st, only showing half the year. Because of legislation up at the state level regarding default budget and non-union personnel adjustments, we felt it was more responsible to show the entire cost over the entire year. So that looks double as bad as it has every other year, but we felt that that was the responsible thing to start doing now. And those increases include step advancements as well as a 3.3% matrix adjustment. Again, when the town invested in our compensation study, one of the recommendations was to adjust the matrix by CPI if the budget would allow it. So we have done that. And then finally, another big change, again, capital projects. What you're going to see in the department presentations for members that were here last year or those that may have watched at home, you're going to see a lot of the same projects. The vehicles got 1 year older, the roads got 1 year worse, all of our capital got 1 year older. So those needs did not go away, and you're going to see a lot more of those projects coming forward.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
With the budgeted change for January 1st, are we actually changing when people are getting that step increase to January 1st?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. It would be January 1st. We'd have to issue a retroactive check probably the first week of April. That's what Bedford and other towns do.
Okay.
So just to clarify, Derek, when you said it's more responsible, you meant it's also more transparent because then voters are actually seeing it reflected in the budget, what the actual cost is instead of just the cost for the 6 months.
Correct.
Right?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Yep, and there was legislation on the state level that I believe passed both the House and the Senate, but was vetoed by the governor. But we expect similar requests to come up through the legislature again, so we felt it was appropriate to make that change to how ours is done. Because again, we have so many, half of our workforce is non-union, so we felt that was the responsible thing to do. On the next page, our general fund revenue is only up 1.4%, which is $100,000. I know at last year's budget committee, there was a lot of discussion about revenues. Departments did take a long look and work with the select board this year to modify revenues in all departments, and that has provided a slight increase. We're also being very careful with our budget or our revenue estimates. This year, when we did our revised revenues before tax rate setting, we only saw we only increased it by 0.7%. That's $50,000. So I think our finance office and Danielle are very good at projecting our revenues to what they will be, and we do not want to overestimate them because that will lead to problems when you get to tax rate setting time. So we have not increased our motor vehicle fees. We're leaving that at the amount for 2025. That is our biggest revenue, non-tax revenue, or non-property tax revenue. And then meals and rooms distribution, we have matched what we have gotten from the state, although you may have heard in the news, state revenues are lagging. Meals and rooms is right where they projected so far. So we don't see a reason to decrease that at this point. And then just on your next page, you just have a breakdown of where, again, the 2025 budget was, our default, and our 2026 proposed, and an estimated town tax rate. Again, it's very early in the process, but that is just to give everybody an idea of where things are. In terms of special articles, the select board did vote to bring forward a special article for a deposit into the capital reserve fund for fire apparatus. And that'd be a deposit of $350,000 to be funded from unassigned fund balance. There's also a $1 placeholder right now for our CBA with the DPW Teamsters. That represents 24 positions at DPW, and we're currently in negotiations with that group. And then finally, all of this information is on our town website, which is goffstownnh.gov. On our homepage, we have a button for budget, but also if you go under government budget, all of our proposed budget documents are on there. Our monthly budget reports, budget transfers throughout the year, and then also weekly check registers, which was one of the petition articles that went before town meeting this year. Those are up there as well.
Any questions? Okay.
So for town hall, we're at tab 4 in your binders. Town hall is broken up into 11 different divisions. In addition to putting a column showing what the change between default and proposed this year, we've also added a new subtotal, and that is a subtotal that goes on all of the state DRA forms. So if you see on slide 2 of this, you'll have a 4-digit number that is 4130 General Government Executive. That is the DRA category. So what we tried to do is to help explain how those categories get over to the DRA budget form. We did add those subtotals this year. So Town Hall has 11 divisions and 8 state subcategories. On your next page, you do have an organizational chart for Town Hall. We have 20 full-time budgeted staff, 6 of those are salary, and 14 are hourly employees. We have 1 elected town clerk, and then we have 2 part-time employees. On your next page, we've just got a breakdown of the 2026 proposed budget. Our biggest change this year, you'll see, is in information technology. Again, those are some of the cost increases that we're seeing in software and hardware. We also have a project to move our Munis, our financial software, to the cloud. We currently store it on our own servers, and we've been doing that since that was purchased in 2013, but we believe at this point it would make better sense to move that to the cloud, so that's a pretty significant increase for that licensing. It pretty much doubles it.
Last year, you had talked about, I think it was the New Hampshire Municipal Association that was trying to get something, maybe it wasn't them, and I'm conflating these things, but it was about getting software licenses at a government or a nonprofit rate, at a different rate than, because they really charge us through the nose for all that software, don't they?
That's more for our Office 365 licensing and some of that licensing.
Okay.
I know our IT department is still very involved with state groups to try and bring down pricing to local governments and states. We have a completely different model than they do on the school side, so they've been working on that. Unfortunately, we don't have that in this budget.
Okay.
The town hall information technology line, that carries all the information technology for all of the departments, correct?
The only, mostly correct. The only exception is library. Library retains all of their computers, software, all of that in their budget, but all other departments, it falls under town hall IT.
Okay.
So library is the only unicorn in that sense. So in your next budget,
sorry,
what you'll...
Hold on, we have a question.
I have a quick question on your proposed budget. Division 42400 building health inspection, it sees there's an increase of 10,000, but the line hasn't been nearly expended. I guess I'm wondering if you can give me some details on that.
Yeah, as we go through the details, we've had, so with the changes to the compensation plan, we're able to get everybody in town clerk's office hired, everybody in finance office. We still do have a vacancy. It's a position that's shared between planning and zoning and the building health inspection, so that is one vacant position. So that's primarily what is I guess the difference. Yeah, for there and planning and zoning. Planning and zoning is also in there.
Thank you.
So on the next page, you'll see town hall is primarily composed, we're more than 2/3 wages and related benefits. And then our other big one is our technology, our IT costs. And just to highlight, I did want to highlight, so we have an increase in town hall, or a 2026 change of $232,318. This is above 2026 default budget. So of that $232,000, $150,000 are a non-union personnel costs. Those are those wages with an effective date of January 1st. That is the majority of it. It is what it is. In terms of computer software, we have a $37,000 increase. We have some increases in mobile communication hardware. Monday night, the select board did return a stipend for our supervisors of the checklist and our moderators. They have a very difficult job meeting many times, our supervisor checklists meet many times of the month to process new voter registration, to do new training, to be at the polls, to prepare those checklists. And the moderators are the ones running the elections, and we'll have 3 of them next year. So the select board added that back in. We also have a slight increase in legal services. Once we go through line by line, you will see legal services in our planning and zoning completely overspent. We had 4 very costly appeals this year. Some of the reductions, we made a reduction in consulting services. Minute takers, we retained a very little amount, but we're mostly doing that using AI technology, assigning speakers to the transcripts and then doing that. And then we have a reduction in our audit services line. Those are pretty much the highlights. And again, when you look at your budget, we do have, I really point out that new column. It's very similar to what the school does, and we have that change column to kind of see where that difference between default and proposed is.
And the detail that Derek's referring to is in tab 1, it's folded in half, just because it's legal size. So to bind a clip on it for you, that's detailed for all of the departments.
Any other questions for town admin? Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Just really
sorry.
quick, can you just confirm that I heard you correctly? So of the $232,000 change that you were seeing, you think approximately 150 is from the January 1?
$150,212.
And that's wages and all related benefits, so FICA, Medicare,
Yep.
NHRS, that sort of thing.
Joe?
This might be more of a question for Richard, but also Derek. I want to talk about select board stipends real quick. It's a big deal to me. Are we still paying some of the select board members for their services?
In 2025, yes, they have been.
Which ones? Or are we paying all of them?
We're not paying all of them. There are 3 members that have been receiving it, and have been receiving it, and we're simply, at this point, we may need to do a budget transfer as we approach the end of the year.
Okay. So there's nothing that we could necessarily cut because it's coming from other lines? So they basically ignored the wills of the voters and decided to pay themselves?
I think under their power, under RSA 32.
Yeah.
Again, when we talk about budget line transfers and zeroing out, that looks at the DRA lines, not the individual budget detail.
Thank you.
And just to clarify, all 5 of them were eligible for the stipends, but 2 of them returned them. So they
Yes.
weren't
Two of them waived.
unevenly distributed.
Wait, yes.
Yes. Okay. Other questions? Sam?
I'm still so hung up on this January 1st thing, and I'm sorry, because I'm sure
That's
it's
fine.
very clear. Is the reason this looks so high is because this is like the first year where it kind of looks a little bit higher, but then next year it's gonna look a little bit lower because it's gonna be a real full year, and this year it's like 16 months or
It's
something?
never going to look lower.
Right.
It's not
If you're
16
doing
months.
it,
Okay.
if
It's
you're
not
doing it,
16.
but what you're
It's
doing
12
is you are
months.
showing the voters, you're showing the budget committee, you're showing everybody what the full year cost of those increases are. Before, it was really only showing 6 months.
So if we had done it under the July 1st, which we'd done in years past, it would look at half of this number.
But before, we would go from July 1st, 25 to June 30th, 26.
But they're 2 different budget years. So you would only see the 25.
You'd only see 6 months.
But people are still being paid at the same rate for those second 6 months.
Yes.
No.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Can you clarify this, do you think?
Well, I need to ask the clarifying question to see if it clarifies it. In the following year, will it appear in the default?
Yes.
Okay.
If
So,
it's passed.
If passed, yes, it would.
so the 6 months they're asking for, so when we're asking for that line increase, they're gonna see the increase for the 6 months, July to January. But what we're gonna see here is that next increase, if we didn't switch to the January 1, is gonna be part of the default going forward. So it's actually part of the default of this year's budget is the 6 months, or is the July one that we voted for last year. It's
Okay.
in here, but it's in the default. And that's why I do agree. It does kind of make it look, you just don't see it to some extent.
Jared?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The question that I have for the non-union personnel, not for individuals, but in total, what kind of increase in compensation are we looking at for that salary pool from last year or from this fiscal year? Again, I don't want individuals, so in total. we're
Across
talk-
all departments?
For the town hall, yes. For non-union.
For just town hall?
For what you have for the $150,000,
Yep.
is that 3%, 6%, 7%? What are we looking
So
at?
that is for those employees that are eligible, so they need to have a satisfactory evaluation, and they can't be maxed out on the scale. We have, at Town Hall, I think we have 2 employees that are at the top of their scale. They would be eligible for a step, which averaged 3%, and then a matrix adjustment, which would be another 3.3%.
So a 6.3% increase.
Thank you.
Additional questions? Oh, Joe?
Yes, thank you. So technically, we're moving up their pay increase by 6 months.
Yes.
That's the request.
Yes.
Okay. I just want the committee to be clear, because we had agreed on the non-union compensation, and the voters had agreed on something, and then there's a request coming in for 6 additional months. Why not push it back 6 months?
Because we felt that there was legislation on the state level that was trying to make it clear that if you give a mid-year adjustment, how do you show that on your default? The way we read that pending legislation was you cannot carry that forward to default. So that's why we feel that it's, to follow that legislation that, again, it passed Senate and House and was vetoed. We expect it to come back. We felt it better to do the full year.
I don't see how they could push it back 6 months, because then that would be a different budget year.
Right.
So if they were going to move it at all, they could only move it, forward, wouldn't
Well,
they?
and I guess, like, I'm a co-sponsor, full disclosure, I support that bill, and I'll vote for it again, but if they push it forward, the effective date of that bill would have nothing to do with the 6 months. So, like, the effective date of the bill would not be immediately upon passage. So there's really honestly no need to push it forward 6 months if it's not gonna have anything to do with the
Well, but I
effective
think
date
they're
of the
trying to embrace the spirit of the bill rather than the letter of the bill, right?
And I think what we've proposed is, that is the appropriation, as an appropriation committee. If you don't feel that appropriation is, you could, I guess, cut it in half, and the board would have to push it back to July 1st.
Thank you, that answers my question.
Additional questions, Peter?
I wasn't going to bring it up until later, but Derek already brought up the point. You can split it in half. I would probably be arguing when we get to deliberations, potentially, we split the allocation in half, but it still started at January 1, so that we are getting in line with the date, but we're not basically increasing pay 6 months earlier than we would have been. Basically, like,
You're going to have to explain that to me. I did not follow that.
for 1 year, we budget for a lower step than we were going to budget for, right? So let's just say, I'm just going to throw out a number, right? We were going to budget for a 3% increase. We budget for a 1.5% increase starting January 1. Your overall pay increase is not as high, but you're getting it 6 months earlier. And then next year, we do go for the full 3%. So it doesn't look like you got a huge raise, but you got it 6 months earlier, essentially.
Okay. Let's hold that thought.
Okay.
Jared?
I just want to say, I appreciate the leadership that you showed on this, because this has always confused the hell out of me in years past. I think that we've had that discussion to say, hey, this looks like a 3% raise, that's cost of inflation, this looks good, but when you kind of realize it's half the year, it's a 6% raise. So I am glad you're presenting it like this and showing the true cost to everybody. So thank you, because I'm not going to be as confused as I used to be. So I want to say thank you on that.
Other comments and questions? You said that that change is in line with the CBAs.
That is,
Did I
no,
misunderstand that?
CBAs are approved by, I would say CBAs fall under a little bit different. They're multi-year contracts approved by the voters, and case law is very clear that when those CBAs expire, those people are locked in at those rates.
Okay.
I think what she's trying to say though is, in the CBAs that were approved and are all publicly available on the state's website, all the contracts, you're gonna see that each of the CBAs have a step and a matrix adjustment in each of their contract years. Is that what you were asking?
Yes, that is about 6%. Is that?
It varies
We
by
can bring it,
contract,
I
yeah.
think there are some that have matrix adjustments as high as 4% in this coming year. And again, we've struggled with recruitment and retention in those departments.
Okay. And Laura?
Thank you. I think this follows what we talked about last year, whereas it's really important to get good staff, keep good staff, and it wasn't going to happen all at once to get them to the percent that, they did the study. They were going to try and lessen the blow by slowly, and this, I think, is what we're seeing as part of that. Am I right? Yeah. So it wasn't like this last year, but because we're trying to little by little get them to where they're then fitting into the matrix is how we see, is how they see fit.
Okay. Sam?
Never mind.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. More comments on that? All right.
Okay.
Next up is police.
I just gotta log in, sorry. Apparently.
That's fine. Take your time.
Sorry, it's 47 characters, so I have to remember. I'm sorry. Brian
Capital
makes me,
special
And it changes
character.
every 6 months.
Brian makes me
Oh, God.
put these characters in that are a little bit crazy, so. Thank you.
It's all yours.
Thank you. I'm your police chief, Eric Serino. For the new members here, I apologize. I did not bring a organizational chart. We're trying to see if we can get them from GTV right now, but if not, I will forward them to the group because I think it helps bring some context into how we break up our budget. So without further ado, if you have my presentation in front of you, I can kind of give you an overview quickly for the new folks. So I apologize for the folks that have been here for some years, but our budget is broken up into an operations side, which is the police side of it, and a communications side, which is our dispatch center. So basically what you'll see is when I go through this, I'll talk a little bit about operations, which is basically everything on the police side, and then there's a side that's called communications, and that is just our 11 dispatchers in that room that dispatches for multiple different towns and agencies. Thank you, Brian. So for our 2025 budget, 2026 proposed budget, we have a 6% increase. And Madam Chair, if you'd like me, I could read all the numbers off. If you want, with respect to
No.
time, I can just kind of go
that's
through
okay.
them. CIP, we're, this year, I'll go through it all, but basically, we're asking again for the 3 cruisers. I keep deferring all of the stuff that we need at our police department. I think most of you know, we are in the midst of trying to figure out whether or not we're going to ask the voters at some point in time down the road for a new police department. That is in CIP's matrix, but we have not really gotten that far. So for me, I'm not asking for a lot at our police department when it comes to capital improvement. At this point, we need a lot of work done, but I'm trying not to to put money into this building if we're down the road someday gonna, maybe see a new one. But so essentially, we're looking for the 3 cruisers again. Again, we're estimating it's about a 7.5% increase because state bid hasn't been finalized. It's usually towards the end of the year. But basically, our operation budget is over $5 million. Our communications over $1 million. We had 18 lines increase and 17 lines decrease. Bringing you to the next page. Basically, the increases for wages. Again, this is all encompassing. This is the full-time wages, the part-time wages, our retirement, our Medicare, our longevity, our FICA. That is all based on what Derek just explained to you all, how we've either had a CPI increase for the matrix or anybody that's eligible for a step. To reiterate what Derek said, our agency has a long history of doing yearly evaluations on our employees. Every employee is evaluated when they receive it, as long as it's meets the standards. They are eligible. If they are still on the step matrix, they will receive a step increase. Moving forward, our uniform line and bulletproof vest line is all up. I will preface this with the uniform line. I'm asking for a $10,000 increase because we are seeing our uniforms are going through the roof when it comes to prices. Anytime we need to get a new shirt or pair of pants, we're seeing on average about $120 a shirt with the embroideries. We also have to outfit new officers. I'm happy to tell you that we are getting to the point where we're almost there. But it's like anything else is with the greatness is I have 4 people next year who are eligible to retire. I don't know if they're going to, but they're eligible. So I have to plan for that. And I also, with attrition, probably think that we'll, based on history, see some people that will look to go to a different agency. So I'm trying to prepare for that. Our bulletproof vest line is up $9,500 because, like I just said, we have 6 individuals next year that we need to replace their bulletproof vest. Every 5 years, we have to replace one. So that's the people that we know. And then we are anticipating potentially 4 to 6 people that might be leaving. So I have to anticipate every individual officer receives their own personalized fitted bulletproof vest, so we have to order those individually. Travel. So this 2026 is going to be our 4th year where we receive our accreditation award. For those of you who have been around a long time, you guys know that we are internationally accredited since 1992. We were the first in the state, and we've stayed that course. The organization who oversees our accreditation, they have now decided instead of doing a 3-year accreditation, every 3 years we would go and receive our award. It's now 4 years. So we are up, our 4th year will be in February, and then we are up to go to Omaha, Nebraska for the conference and the hearing in July. So as with my previous years, I've always tried to bring myself, my accreditation manager, and 2 other people to the conference to be able to see it and understand what happens. And then they can watch me sit in front of the commissioners in the hearing, and we can discuss how our agency is doing great and basically hopefully receive our award and come home with it. Again, this is the increase you're seeing in travel pay. That is going to pay for us to go to Omaha in July, if approved. For employee development, it went up $3,400. That is the increase of the cost for our conference cost that's going to be out in Omaha for CALEA. I take you all to the operations increase. Electricity is going up. On average, we're seeing on our agency, most of you know, we're a 24-hour building. We host the 2nd data center in this town. And all of you probably know or don't know that our building is set up with HVAC a little bit differently. So some people are freezing in one office and others are sweating in the other. So we tend to overheat each other or freeze each other out. So our electricity is going up. Gasoline, I will tell you, I think I overshot that. I'll just say it right up front. I've looked at it several times. We've gone over a couple times years back. We've been under these last few years. I think last year the budget committee cut 5,000 out of it, and we were kind of see where we were at, and we're kind of right on point, I think, this year to maybe go over a couple thousand, depending on the usage. So I cut it back, but basically put 5,000 extra in there to see if we're close. I think we have some room to move on that through deliberations, but that's kind of what you see for the increase. But after reassessing with the budget, the select board, I think we can kind of look into that. For equipment, I'm asking for an $8,900 increase in the equipment line. That is going to be for our firearms, our sidearms that every officer has a new sight that's going to be put on it. We have half the agency has them installed on their firearms. We've been slowly kind of picking away at them. I'm looking to see if I can get the last 15 done next year. It'd be nice to be able to get them all done, get everybody on the right platform, certified, and be done. So that's the increase that you're seeing in our equipment line. The overtime line, I added initially 20,000 just based on the CBAs and the wages. I think most of you know that when we push our overtime line out to everybody, it is not the actual cost of what if we had to essentially fill every vacation, sick time. We don't necessarily always backfill that. When I did my numbers this year up to the end of September, if I were to cover on average every supervisor or police officer or dispatcher or any employee that needs to be backfilled, we'd be up over $450,000 in overtime if we had to do that. So I just added a slight increase. I think we're going to be pretty close this year, but again, that's the increase in the wages that we're looking at. What you're seeing in your current presentation with the asterisk that says stipends, that is essentially the Board of Selectmen had approved on-call stipends for people that are on call throughout the year. My understanding is that increase went into the overtime line, so that's why I added the asterisk, because it wasn't in my initial presentation to the Board of Selectmen, but because they approved it, it's now pretty much what you're seeing in your this presentation from Town Hall is you'll see it's a little bit higher than what I initially asked for. So that asterisk there, 18,120, is the added stipends for that.
I have a question about that. Not about the stipends, but about the overtime. So last year, you had a number of vacancies.
We did.
And you're filling those. I know those people have to go through the academy and the training, so they may not be operational yet. But theoretically, they should be at some point in 2026, right?
Yes.
So my question is, when your overtime line was big because you had these vacancies, and so you had to have your existing employees work overtime to fill those, to cover those hours. If the positions are filled with regular employees, wouldn't there be some sort of a corresponding drop with your overtime line?
Not necessarily, because again, the thought process and the correlation, if you have full staff, your overtime goes down. What I'll tell you is what I've seen and what we do is we don't necessarily fill all those shifts, right? So we don't always backfill depending on the situation, the week, the night, whatever the situation is. But what you also have to remember is the more people we have, the more people have to go to training. So if they're going on there, so the way we do our trainings in our agency is every shift, you have to do your trainings on their day off, because you can't do monthly trainings, firearms, stuff like that while you're on duty, because you have to go to call. So the majority of our agency will always do training on one of their days off. So that overtime cost is in there. So you'll see overtime. So now we might fill some shifts and backfill because we're short-staffed, but what you're also seeing that savings in overtime is we're not paying 34 officers to do our training either, right? I'm sorry, you don't pay me for overtime, so I just go, but you're not paying those union and non-union people that are hourly, you're not paying them the overtime to go to that training. You'll also see as you go up, so you have those training costs, but again, the more people we have on the road, as we don't have those people have vacations or they're out sick, we do backfill those shifts. Again, it just depends on how many people we have on the road and what the level of we're comfortable not filling with, right? As far as the personnel on the shift. And I will tell you, I don't know if I should share this, but Last year, we were down bodies, and we rolled the dice a couple weekends. And I'll just say that, right? Like roll the dice, like, let's hope that they don't have to call the chief in the middle of the night to come help out because we're just really hurting. And the problem is we can backfill it, but everybody's overworked, so we're trying to give everybody that break. So I think to your point, yes, we have full staff, but overtime doesn't necessarily go down because we still have to pay for trainings, court dates, and other things of that nature. So again, what I'm seeing is when we have our data here, that when we basically do our averages for all the vacation requests, all the sick time on average, all the holidays come out of that as well. You know, training costs on average, we're talking for overtime is, you know, 30 to 40,000, covering different things about 75,000. You know, you're talking when you start getting into vacations and covering 4 weeks, 5 weeks of people leaving and then backfilling it, we're up to $432,000 in overtime. That's what I'm just September, but I'm not putting that in the budget. So when you see our increases, even though it should go up or it should go down, I don't think I'm really giving the picture to the community. I'm saying it to you, but I'm not adding it to the budget because we always try to keep it down and work it out however we can when it comes to the staffing levels.
Okay. What's the ratio of salary to hourly employees in the police department?
And currently, we have 10 salary employees. I'm sorry, 5 salary employees. So myself, the captain, and 3 lieutenants are all salaried. So those are the executive kind of administrators. Everybody else is hourly.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just making sure. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Any other questions? Sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. Great. So decreases, we're bringing furniture down. We've replaced a lot of desks, chairs. And operations-wise, the majority of our furniture goes to either new desks or chairs, patrol. We've kind of reconfigured everything. We've done a pretty good job in the last few years of getting new furniture in there. So I decreased it because we're not buying any more desks. I think really for next year, it's just going to be building some more chairs in for the recycling out old chairs and putting in new ones for patrol. Radars, we went down because we're not going to buy a couple of radars next year because we have a surplus, not surplus, but we have enough that are new now and we don't need to buy any next year. So I think we're good there, so we decreased that. We do have some money in that line for another handheld. Most of ours are in the car, but we do have a few handhelds for the bicycle officers or other different operations. So I'll bring you guys into the communications division and their increases and decreases in that budget. So the employee development line went up $1,680. That again goes back to our accreditation manager. For those of you who don't know, our communications supervisor, she also wears another hat in our building, as many of us do. She's our accreditation manager. So she will be going with us. She falls under the communication budget. So you'll see that's the increase for her to travel with us to Omaha. Wages, again, are the increases in wages for dispatch. That's, again, it's full-time. We don't have any part-timers. That's for retirement, Medicare, longevity, and FICA. And then we have an equipment maintenance line in communication. That line really is for our contract for our new radio system. Most of you know that we were very fortunate to redo our entire emergency radio system infrastructure. We had a contract with the company that basically installed it. We've renegotiated the contract so that the number went down next year, $12,000. So there is some money in that line that's not necessarily just for the contract. It also is there just in case we have any radio issues that's not covered under that contract that we have to replace. And we do have a history of replacing some type of radios, even though they're brand new. We just had one last year that got hit with lightning strike that did not cover, and we had to replace an antenna on the tower. So there is some money built in. I think it's a couple grand just in case that happens. I'll move you into CIP. Again, I've asked several years now for the 3 cruisers. I think this committee is well versed in kind of how we operate. These cruisers are always to replace the line cruisers for the officers that you're seeing in the front line. I take pride, as most of you should take pride in our community, in the sense that we are providing our officers with a really good 12-hour office that they drive around for the most part, that is fairly new and is not falling apart. I asked a few years in a row for a Chevy Tahoe to kind of see the difference between the Fords and the Chevys. It's been cut every time, which I understand. This year, again, I've asked for just one with 2 Ford Interceptors. I'm not sure, I believe the board talked about that in their meeting about cutting the Chevy Tahoe, but essentially, we are still asking for the 3 cruisers. For those of you who don't know, the cycle of how we do our police cars is the new cars go on the line. That's where you see the officers out there driving around. Typically around 3 years, we rotate the cars into a kind of an administrative role. So then we use those cars for another 3 to 4 years, and then after that, we give them over to Highway, and then Highway takes them and drives them where they need to. And on average, I think, and Adam can help me with this, I think we're getting about maybe 9 to 10 years out of one cruiser between us and Highway. So for the investment that we're putting into them, we're doing well. If you don't mind, I'll keep going about the...
Can I ask one question? You
Sure.
said that the board had talked about not getting the Chevy Tahoe. Do you mean not getting it at all, or getting another Ford Interceptor?
There was a
Like-
conversation like we did last year here, where instead of paying the extra money for the Tahoe, instead of cutting a cruiser out, let's try to get the 3...
Ford
The
Interceptors.
Ford Interceptors, correct.
Okay. Olivia?
I was the CIP rep, and I thought it was really helpful when the chief presented this and talked about the benefit of having one of the Chevy Tahoes, being able to kind of do a side-by-side comparison, rather than just kind of guessing at what the hopeful benefits would be, actually having one that officers were using.
And I'll
I don't think anybody else had a question, did they? So go ahead.
I will tell you, and most of you have sat here and listened to me say this year and year again, we actually are doing really well with our cruisers. Like, we got rid of, I think, the majority of these COVID cars are gone. I call them the COVID cars because they're falling apart off the line. But when it comes to maintenance, they're still obviously maintenance, but their vehicles seem to be doing well.
Are the COVID cars at Highway?
I don't know. I'm not gonna. I'm not looking back there. I'm not looking. They're.
So they may be gone for
I know
you,
they're there.
but they're not gone for everybody.
I'm not sure they're driving, but they're there. I will share with the group here. I just learned the other day, and this is. I think this is a proud moment. We have our vendor who does all our outfitting, who takes our cars, puts the lights in them, strips them out. They take all the lights off and they put them in the unmarked cars, and then they give us the unmarked cars, and then they take them out and send them to Highway. This group is right here in Bedford. They've been with us for many years, and their lead tech said to me the other day, Chief, you have probably the cleanest and well taken care of cars I've ever seen. They do Massachusetts, they do Southern New Hampshire, and I was kind of like, wow, thank you. He says, your cars always come in after 3 or 4 years, and they're well taken care of, they're clean. He says, you should be proud, because some of these we see coming off the line from other police departments are a mess. And I didn't know anything different, because I think we all take care of our cars. We're very fortunate to have newer cars, but I guess apparently we do a pretty good job. So I wanted to share that with the group, because I think it's important that it shows you guys that we are out there not only getting these new cars, but taking care of them too. I'll bring you to the next page. I like to give you guys kind of an overview, but the cost drivers, obviously in the police department, is personnel. It's almost about 90% of our costs. We are at about a 7% operating costs, and the CIP is about 3% of our costs. Bring you into the kind of the summary, the overview. For those new people here, we are 32 sworn full-time sworn police officer. We have 2 part-time sworn officers, 11 dispatchers, 4 support staff. We have 5 part-time crossing guards that are out there every day. We have 10 line cruisers that are on the 3-year cycle, 5 unmarked cruisers that are on a 3-year cycle. We have the 1 pickup truck, 1 command post, and 1 radar trailer. You can see there's some pictures of us always in the community like we always are. And then at the end, I shared this with you guys last time, but are not hiring, and I'm happy to say that we've been working hard this last year. As of right now, our dispatchers are fully staffed. We have 2 in training. Our crossing guards are fully staffed, which is great. And we are on our last officer, who is currently in background. And if that goes through, he is a certified officer from a different community. I'm happy to report that we've hired, I think, 4 now that are certified from different communities that have saved us time and money to get them on the road. If this goes through, we should be swearing them in December. So we should be, in December, hopefully before Christmas, we'll technically be on paper, fully staffed.
What a refreshing change that we're pulling officers from other towns instead of losing them to other towns.
I think I've said this to the committee before. 20 years ago, we would see officers step into Goffstown, go through their training, and then go to Manchester, go to Nashua. I think what we're seeing is people are getting burnt out faster. The city is very busy. They are understaffed, and people are saying, yes, I can make a lot of money. Nobody really wants to live their life on overtime. So I think what people are starting to see is like, I can find change somewhere else. And I think the younger generation likes to change. So that's why I always anticipate people are going to leave at some point, because not everybody wants to be Eric Serino and be here for 20-something years of their life. But I hope. But yeah, so we are doing well. And again, I'm going to anticipate some next year, but I am feeling very refreshed.
Okay. Sam?
I was gonna say, so that's so would you say that the main driver in getting all of this staffed is we're better than other communities, I guess?
I think you have, I'll share this with the group, right? I'm not gonna share where they came from or who they are.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that I have 2 officers that came from an agency that paid a lot more money than us. A lot more money. But they didn't necessarily like the fit of that agency for them. This agency provides a 12-hour shift to our patrol officers, so they get every other Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. They work a short week and a long week. And once you get through the fact that you can work 12 hours or 13 hours, it's a long day. But when you know that you're going to you work 15 days on and 15 days off, and you're going to get your every other Friday, Saturday, Sunday off guaranteed. People love that. They're like, this is great.
Yeah.
I work Wednesday, Thursday, and then I'm off. And, I think that is a huge selling point. Some people like 8s, but then they end up working 16s. So I think for us, we've always had that 12-hour shift. We've always toted ourselves to have that kind of every other weekend off. And I have young people now that crazy. They take a day off, and then next thing you know, I'm finding out they're in like other countries skiing. Okay, so hopefully you come back. We need you to come back, but they're enjoying their time off. I think with the CBAs and the work that this community has done with making sure that we're not the top paid agency, we're not the lowest, we're kind of right in the middle, but I think we're doing pretty well, and I think that helps. And then I think when they see the CBAs and they see the kind of where they can go in this agency, people come in and they go, okay, that's all right.
Can I just go?
Yeah.
Without, I guess, sharing too much of where these other people came from, did anyone come from, I guess what you would say, a police department that was absolutely beautiful and like top of the line, like gorgeous locker rooms, everything is amazing, and then they came to our department and they're like, this is still fine? Or is that most
I'm not sure you can answer that, Sam.
Yes. We have people in our agency that came from other agencies that are absolutely beautiful, top of the line, Taj Mahals. I'm saying that, and the person watching is going to know exactly now what I'm talking about.
Sorry.
But I will tell you that they don't come back and look at our building and go, what kind of dump is this? I just came from a Taj Mahal and now I'm here. I think they come in and they go, all right, we have a good team here, we have good cruisers, like that's my office, I can deal with the 1987, 70s locker room. But I think we've had people come from really small agencies from way up north that have moved here and like it here. I don't know what that agency looks like up there. I'm not sure. But recently we've had 2 come from large agencies with top of the line stuff, and they don't come back here and go, this place is a dump. I think it's because we have a good team. They don't necessarily focus on that. Might not help me for getting a new police department one day, but
So where does our pay align or not align with what the county pays for the sheriffs?
No, I have no idea. I don't know what they pay over there.
The county elected sheriff?
They have more than just one sheriff. They
Sheriff
have
deputy.
officers, don't they?
Well, they have,
County
the
officers?
sheriff is the sheriff, but it's like the chief, and then they have
Right.
all their deputy sheriff
Right.
officers, yeah. I don't know what the county is, I know they're actually, Joey may be able to help me. I think they're negotiating a contract, to be honest with you, but I can share this with you, not just the county. 3 years ago-ish, when we got our contracts passed, we were doing pretty well. We have smaller agencies around us that are catching up to us pretty quickly. And I know a community right beside us that is a lot smaller than us that I'm pretty sure gave over a 9% raise to all of their police officers in 1 year to retain them. And one of their top officers that just received that is now making more than our patrol officers here, which is fine, but it just goes to show you that we are so, the market is so hot right now with police officers. I can't speak for any of my other peers, but it's just, you've got to make it right here and keep people here and keep them happy and keep them motivated, and pay helps. It's not the end of it's not all, because like I said, people left and lost money coming to Goffstown. So we are now, as we're getting into next year to negotiate another contract, we are getting to that point again where people have caught up to us.
Jared?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Looking at Jester Communications, I know that that's something that's shared with other towns and
Yes.
organizations. Knowing that there's some increases in there for expenses, do we have corresponding revenues to kind of offset those with our other towns or other agencies that are using our communications groups?
So, as you all know, and maybe some of you don't, we do have negotiated contracts with them. Those contracts sometimes go from 3 years to 5 years. I think typically they're 3 years. Those revenues, so as we increase our personal, our wages, those contracts, depending on the negotiation, there is some increase there. It might not capture the exact amount, but as we then walk into a next negotiation, we can capture that. I will share, I believe, last year was the year, right, Derek, when we did the CFR, Capital Reserve Fund?
It's a revolving.
Sorry, revolving fund, thank you. Those dispatch contract fees are going into a revolving fund that we can then, at some point, hopefully, instead of coming to CIP and saying, I need a $700,000 new RMS system, we can use some of those dispatch fees just for dispatch.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Additional questions, please? Or communications?
Can I add one more thing? Sure. Just for clarification, thank you, Danielle. The contracts, Jared, they also add any of our technology, so if IT is involved with any of their licensing or their VPNs that come over to our department, that is all passed on to them, so we're not paying for any of that stuff, so that's an added kind of increase. It almost washes, but it is part of their contract.
That's why I think it's important to understand, even though there's an increase, there's a corresponding matching revenue that's coming in to
Yeah.
kind of offset that. So even though it might be, I'm just going to make up the number, 7%, we only might have to pay 1% of that because of that other
Yeah.
money that's coming in.
Don't quote me on this number, but I thought it was somewhere around about 160,000 is what our revenues are. I know Danielle she's probably looking, she knows the number, but it was somewhere right around there is what we were kind of capturing for revenues. And I think we had that conversation last year, whether it was a net zero or not, but we are technically generating revenue.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? I think in general, maybe Derek spread the word, anytime there's offsetting revenue for things, we encourage the department heads to share that with us, to connect those dots for us. So, okay, great, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, now we're under fire.
Elizabeth, I didn't want to say, we do have offset revenues when we write tickets. I don't know if that's something I should brag about.
Those are the kind of revenues
Parking
we're
tickets
hoping
come
for.
back for revenue. I don't know if Glen Lake Beach is giving us a couple bucks.
I never got my book to give those tickets out, so.
Okay, Chief. Where are they all going? We're not taking a break. We're all gonna ramble through here. is our last presentation of the night, so we're just going to charge through it, guys, and they're going to have to catch up.
I second that. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. You're probably inquiring tonight why there's two of us up here. As you may or may not know, I will be retiring at the end of the year. So I thought it was prudent this year to show others, the budget process and go through it. So with me tonight is Deputy Chief Ben Selleck. Ben's the second in command at the fire department, and we worked together this year on the budget, so Deputy Selleck will be presenting to you tonight.
Okay.
I believe we're on tab 6, correct? In the book?
Yeah.
So, in interest of time, I provided a substantial handout to you, a couple new faces. So there's a lot of information in here that I'm not going to go over in depth tonight, so don't worry, I'm not going to take up all your time tonight. But we'll just touch on the main features, but there is a lot of information that the committee has asked for in previous years, so we did put that in here too. So we start off with a department overview, and then you get into the organizational chart, so you can see that. Just a reminder for the new personnel, we have full-time operational personnel, we have per diem operational personnel, and we have call personnel as well. Moving on to page 3, our biggest problem is retention. As Chief Serino mentioned, their contract is a little bit ahead of ours. We just got ours this year, which we're going to see at the very last section of the budget. This is the year that we finally get up to that 50th percentile. I believe Laura was talking about that. We started incrementally going up because before the town passed the contract, just as a reminder from us from last year, is the fire department was at the 35th percentile. So this year, we're finally up at the 50th percentile, as it was when we did the study a year ago. So I want to make sure you guys understand the costs, both direct costs as well as indirect costs to new firefighters and onboarding. If a firefighter comes to us with all of their certifications and everything like that, it still takes a full year of training them before they can actually be fully independent. That has not happened in our department for long before I got here. Right now, the personnel are coming in with basically a card that says they can physically do the job and 1 or 2 certifications instead of the 6 that we actually need them to have to actually be ready. So right now we're averaging about 2 to 2.5 years before someone is actually ready to go. So I put a lot of information in there for you for the expenses, and we'll talk more about the expenses in there. The other thing that I want to note is because of the retention problem, and I know we talked about between 2018 and 2023, we lost 22 full-time employees. We only have 24 people on the floor, so this is nothing new, but we're not seeing it plateau yet. Hopefully we're going to be getting there as the town approved the wage increases, and we're also working on the stations, the apparatus, very similar to what Chief Serino was talking about. The other thing is that I want to focus on is the indirect costs. Is these personnel, again, are not fully certified when they're in here, so they're somewhat helpful, but they're also a liability as well. So the supervision required to basically have them shadow you as you're going through makes it difficult for our personnel. The other thing is that we're going to talk a lot about tonight is supervision. Is we only have a spot for 1 supervisor per shift. We have 2 different stations. That means there's not a supervisor at every single station who's actually certified and trained and that type of stuff. So we need to keep an eye on that as well. Any questions on the retention of the new firefighters or costs, direct and indirect?
And if I can quickly step back a bit, as you know, last year, the Board of Selectmen, this budget committee worked very close with us in order to, you saw the importance of the need for a collective bargaining agreement. And I can tell you, we're pretty much fully staffed now, and definitely because of the support of the taxpayers, our retention problem is improving significantly. So You're always going to have one or two for no specific reason except their career advancement, they want to move on. But I can tell you, since these collective bargaining agreements and the pay changes took place last year, we haven't lost anyone. So that is significant for us. And again, I'm grateful that I can sit before you and tell you we are now a competitive agency. And that, that's going to be important moving forward to stay there. And I know we discussed that last year, right, about what is the advantage of investing in these people now. And so it has worked out.
Call volume. So we are around similar for fire. One thing that I do want to point out is we're trying to decrease our call volume actively. A lot of props to Captain Lavoie in our risk reduction division. He has significantly decreased the number of service calls that we go on our Master Box program by going into the listed agent program. That has helped. However, just as you can see there, medical calls continue to increase. As we know, the state put out the new information on statistics that next year, for the first time in the state's history, we're going to have more people over 65 than under 18. So as we get older in life, we require more medical care. As we see quite a bit, a lot of changes in medical coverage right now, especially this year. That takes a toll on them. They see their PCPs less, which means they see us more. So it's more demand on us, not only bring them to the hospital, but also just helping pick them up. Families, it's tough to live next to your families. Not everyone can have the second and third generations. So we wind up picking up that load physically as well as supportively, and we try to get them in with additional resources. So call volume continues to increase.
Awesome.
Excuse me, do you have statistics on how many calls you take at the nursing home?
Yes, I can pull that up. I know the select board has been watching that, and I believe Joe's group has been watching that very carefully and working with the county as well. But yes, so the county nursing home, obviously, is our biggest location, and I can, for the next meeting, I can have some specific up-to-date stats for you for that if you'd like, or any other locations. Again, we try to work with them. We just earlier this year, the Hillsborough County Nursing Home met with us. We worked with them. They did sign a contract with a private ambulance company to help take a lot of the load. But again, people still fall. They have chest pain, shortness of breath, that type of stuff. And then the other thing it's kind of difficult to put it into perspective is that how many people you have there. So we do have, it's not just a Hillsborough County, but we also have other facilities in town that are also 55 and older, as well as an entire community over in Medville that are also that way. So it's just a high density version of it. Yep.
Samantha, did you? Brian?
Thanks, Madam Chair. I guess, Ben, could you help me? Are you representing the data differently than last year? Because I remember last year the EMS was much higher in percentage and fire was much lower. So help me understand the pie chart
So
here.
we broke it down because there's a lot of questions. You're absolutely correct, Brian.
Okay.
So there were a lot of questions last year in, I guess it's, you have the total call volume, right? And then what silos do you put everything in? What categories do you use, right? So we used 3 categories of EMS, fire, and service. And to help you out with that, because I think you were talking about also apparatus, how does apparatus costs relate to that? So directly underneath that for you, I put those types of calls so you can see that.
Okay.
And what we did here, Brian, for the top there, is we retroactively went back into only these 3 categories. So that way you can see it across year to year.
Okay.
If you guys want to have extra, to see, fires versus carbon monoxide or something like that, I can pull as much detail as you guys want. The one thing that I will caution you on is at the federal level, our entire reporting system is changing at the end of this year. So all of our categories that every single one of our calls has to go in is dramatically changing next year. I'm going to try to keep it to as few as possible, because going back in history, it's going to be harder and harder for us to compare year over year. But if we keep it in these three categories, I think it's going to be much more transparent to the taxpayer to really understand what our services are. That answers your question.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah. So thank you very much for going right down my lecture here tonight. So as you can see, most of what we do is EMS, and then followed up 23% by fire, and you have the call types detail there. One of the other discussions that we had last year was daytime versus nighttime. And our call volume, absolutely, while people are awake, they call us more. One of the things that I did break down for you in that second pie chart on the bottom, page 4 there, what I'm showing you there is, yes, our call volume is absolutely higher during the day because everyone's up, they're working, they're getting into accidents, they're having chest pain from looking at various bills and stuff like that. But the other thing is, in the last 2 bullet points, that's what I really want to focus you guys on, is 26% of fires between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. are multiple alarm fires. And then at night, it goes up to 41%. So what does that actually mean? Is everything we do in emergency services, especially in the fire service, is we fight time. Right? Is if you start having a heart attack, if you start having a fire, we're coming in and we have to fight that time. That's why we try to have everyone have alarms so they can get the smoke detector goes off, they get alerted sooner, because the later we get called, the harder it is for us to do it. And as you can see here, the more resources it needs. So when someone has a fire at their house, which actually post-COVID has actually significantly increased, however, the time to putting the fire out has significantly decreased because most people are now in their home more than they have been before. So we're getting called early. So less fires during the day are getting back, and less people are dying in the fires during the day. However, that's completely reversed at night. Is when people are sleeping, they're leaving their doors open. Please, when you go to bed, close your doors. It makes a significant decrease in how fast the fire spreads. And as you can see here, this is, and our fatal here in town was at night, and that was 2 people.
Close what doors? Like your inside?
Yes, bedroom doors.
Sleep with your bedroom doors closed?
Oh, 100%. My risk reduction division would love to show you some great pictures and videos of the significant decrease, just survivability goes way up. Yes, so yes, please close your bedroom doors at night. Yes. But we can go in more than that. So as next page, page 5, time matters. That's just a breakdown to show you. And very similar to that is you have a medical chain of survival and fire chain of survival. And it all starts with recognition and action. We, because we don't know what apparatus we need to take, because it could be a brush fire, it could be a house fire, only 43% of the town has hydrants. So we could bring a regular truck, or we may actually have to bring a ton of water with us. So that changes everything. So we stay in-house, so our office, unlike PD, is in our house instead of on our vehicles. So that kind of gets into there. Response times. We get into the NFPA 1710 standard. That is what the standards are. I will get on my soapbox for one quick second and just say, just remember, minimum standards only 1 point above failing. Okay. And then this is what we're doing. So I just want to be very, very clear that we are not even remotely close to meeting the minimum standard here in the town of Goffstown. All right. We do very well response time in the Parnarville area because we have a high density. However, that district also covers the area of Medville, Monarch, everything out that way. We don't, so our Station 3 is not staffed. It doesn't have apparatus in it. So that everything north of the river just crushes everything else. So in Parnarville area, we can very easily have a 3 to 4 minute response time. However, in that district, that east side of town, It's more up around 8 on average, because some of the houses in that area we're not getting to for 15 minutes. So page 6.
Oh, sorry.
I think I have a question. Thanks, Madam Chair. And you might have discussed this last year, but when it comes to the NFPA standards.
Yes.
How is it looking at like cities versus townships and also the township that has, like, say, Pittsburgh up north?
Yeah.
How do you apply that to different types of communities that have less density, more geographical land to
Yep.
cover?
So it doesn't look at that, because obviously it's going off of time, right? Like I said,
Okay.
everything we do is fight time, but what it does separate is full-time departments versus volunteer departments.
Okay.
And it sets standards for both of those. This one here, because we're a combination department, we fall under the one that's in front of you with those times there. So the other thing is that you can get into more in depth with it, with your insurance rates and stuff like that, is a lot of those rural communities, if you will, are set up only to make sure that people are out and the house is 100% loss. That's not the case here in town. Our taxpayers don't find that acceptable. Neither do we. So we go by these standards. And really the difference in the volunteer setting, I want to say it's only 2 or 3 minutes different. But again, here in New Hampshire, there's not a lot of departments that meet the NFPA standard unless you're in a city with multiple different departments, stations positioned around town. Correct. Yep. I heard a lot of talk last year as well as the year before. A lot of people have business backgrounds. So what we did for you was I know the SWOT analysis can be used for internal as well as external. I got a couple smiles already from Jared. We put that in and we made it as internal, and then we used the pestle for external, so there's information there for you. Just a couple bullet points here is, like we already said, we're finally up to that 50th percentile for pay, so that is really big and important for us. The other thing is that I want you guys to understand is typically firefighters, because of the shifts that we work, being 24 hours on, 72 hours off, a lot of us have second skill sets or second jobs. What I'm very proud to report to you is that our firefighters go above and beyond and are willing to share that skill set with the community. The amount of money that the town saves because they go above and beyond, well above and beyond their job descriptions to maintain all of our small engines, to do metal work like welding and stuff, to fix equipment, to fix the apparatus. We get a lot of help from DPW, but I just want to make sure you guys are aware that the firefighters are, on a daily basis, are doing a lot to maintain the stations and fix the stations as well as the apparatus. Weaknesses, we lose a lot of people due to workload. We do fire, we also do EMS transport. When you get into the fire engine, we only have a maximum of 3 people on that engine. They can go over to the city of Manchester. They don't have to transport a single person. They get to sit in a single seat, and they have an extra person on that engine to share that workload every single time call that they go out. So we continue to lose people to larger departments, as well as promotional opportunities. Also, the time they're spent on new personnel. That is a workload on them because we're constantly turning over people, so constantly bringing in new people. And motivation wise, are they going to leave? How much time should I put into this person? That is a significant weakness for our current personnel. Again, supervision is they don't always have somebody watching over them that really has a ton of experience or certifications to do so. One of the other things is training props. Is we don't have a lot of, obviously we turn over a lot of people, so we have to do a lot of basic training. We don't have a lot of training props to use, so we wind up using the station. That's our infrastructure. So throwing ladders up on our roof, it's hurting our roof. So we're trying to find other things. We're hoping to bring in a Connex box as part of our training, so we can start putting and we're working with some roofing contractors that are here in town to donate materials, so we can start actually doing some stuff on that. The other thing is the master box system. If you're not familiar with that, we have a master box system in town that, for some people, as well as the town, is a fire alarm system that is antiquated. The town has not been able to keep it up over the years. If you see lines hanging down from the utility lines around here, it's most likely that. It goes out of service pretty regularly. And I know, like Brian and I have been talking about that last year, was how much service can we do? This is something we can no longer keep up, and you're going to see us actually asking to remove this. So this is a service that the fire department provides that we can no longer financially keep up with. So yeah.
Those are the red boxes, the fire alarm boxes that you see. There's not many left on poles, but to Ben's point, in one section of town, which only has 4 or 5 boxes on it, there's about 2 miles of fire alarm cable that to replace that just isn't financially, feasible. So his point is that we are going to start eliminating some of those circuits over the next year or two to save some money there. I can guarantee you if it rains hard, that one certain section of the town, we call them circuits, is going to go down, and then it costs us a couple $1,000s each time to bring up a contractor to fix the system.
So more for you to read there, but I'll move on in this time.
Doug's got a question?
Madam Chair, thanks. Just curious, how, do those get used at all, or frequently, or infrequently?
So for the school right here, right now, if the fire alarm goes off, that's how dispatch is notified, is through that system.
It's the oldest fire alarm system in the United States, and it's a very reliable system because it's low voltage, and the wires can take quite a bit of strain, but it is becoming obsolete. And so what happens is you remove that system itself, and then anyone that has one of those now will have to switch over to a private alarm monitoring company.
Okay, so that includes not just telephone poles, but inside the buildings here, the school and everywhere, it's just going to be disconnected?
So it's just the monitoring piece of it. So you still have the entire smoke alarm system, all that type of stuff, none of that comes out. It's just how the system goes out. So instead of it going to dispatch, it would go to a private monitoring company.
Sam?
So, right now, if I was on a street near one of these the master boxes, right, and I saw a fire, ideally I'd go over, I'd pull it, probably also call 911, right? But we live in 2025, I'm probably going to forget about the box, I'm just going to call. But I think that's interesting in the school, so it's, if someone pulled the alarm in the school system, it wouldn't immediately dispatch to the fire department, it would go to a separate...
Just like everybody else, it goes to a monitoring company.
Okay.
But now the system goes to our dispatch center.
But doesn't that decrease response time?
Not any more than if you had an alarm system in your home. You know, the alarm comes in and they call the dispatch center.
It's about 30 seconds. The other thing that, because it is such an old system, the problem is with it, it only tells us that there's an alarm. If the school, for example, since we're talking about the school, is if a fire alarm goes off in the school, the system itself, if you go down and look at the panel right now, can tell you exactly what room it is, what the problem is. We don't get any of that information.
Right, so a fire alarm goes off at the school, you show up here, you go to the panel.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
It's here.
It's the gym, awesome. Go over there,
Yep.
look, there's a mouse in the wires,
Yes.
fun. You know, so I don't think it's, I guess I feel like it's important for the school. I feel like that extra alarm system spot
So the
increases
time is
response
negligible as far as the time coming through, because what it actually does is it sends the signal, but it's not digital. It actually goes through something very similar to a telegraph. So it actually, you have to look at it. It punches in code, it punches in dots on a strip, and then you have to figure out what that is. So it comes out like 341, and then that box is the high school.
Is the school going to have to pay for that independent I mean, you might not be able to answer this, maybe this isn't, I guess would be the school's budget, it really wouldn't be your problem, but like,
Yeah,
isn't the
just
school gonna have to pay for that
Just
independent
don't tell them
monitor?
yet.
So the answer is yes.
This is gonna become a subscription service that then is just gonna become an astronomical cost?
So just like the burglar is, if they pay for that now. The other thing is that the town currently does not bill, so people on the system do not pay anything additional for it. So we have some
Right,
people.
but the ADT company
Yeah,
is gonna charge
Yes.
us.
yep,
And they're gonna raise that price because they can.
correct. And what we're saying is the system is so old that it keeps breaking. So we can spend the $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 to repair it, or we can just get rid of it. The cost that over, and this is just the plan for this year, is we're starting to look into this, and the Circuit 3 especially is the worst one, and there's, how many do we have currently?
I guess I see the idea that in the community,
Yep.
it's antiquated, right? Everybody's got a cell phone on them. I'm not gonna pull the fire alarm. But I feel like in this,
Well, I don't want to go down too far down this road because it's not in this budget.
okay.
So this is a hypothetical discussion for next year.
Yeah, what you're gonna, and the reason why we brought it up is because the service fees are going up significantly, so you'll see an increase in our line for this year. So what we're gonna
Okay.
try to do, so that we don't go too far over that line in 2026, is to take one of the 3 circuits out.
Okay.
So you will see that in our budget, that
Okay.
we have increased that a little. We'll take down one circuit at a time.
Okay.
And you'll see other areas that what we're trying to do, because between 2020 and 2025, our supplies across the board on average have increased by 34%. So what we're trying to do is find other supplies that are cheaper, that will still work, or we can offset things, such as the fire alarm system.
Okay.
Because the amount of money to repair it, to get it functional and reliable would be significant.
Okay.
We can talk more about
I think you're gonna have to talk to him about this afterwards.
There's a lot more. I just don't want to get too far into the weeds. I apologize.
Sorry.
So from the risk reduction section, they just want to make sure you guys are aware of building code changes, industrial standards, basically that homes are being built with cheaper, or I should say lighter materials, so fires spread through them faster, and also the infrastructure of the actual buildings have tendency, the fire burns through the frames a lot faster, so they, like unfortunately today in Keene, 3 firefighters were transported to the hospital because of the collapse. This is becoming more and more common now because of these new type of materials.
We are seeing a significant increase in ADU units too.
And that's
My middle name.
the third one. All right, so along with that is one of the bullet points that we want to show is, obviously you've seen it around town, is we're changing out single-family homes in Pinardville with multi-family homes. We're also seeing a lot more high-density population going in. So the single fire that we only had to worry about evacuating 4 people, the fire department now has to evacuate 100 people. So the resources that we have available to handle these high-density populations that are now coming into town is making it very, very difficult with the current staffing that we have. So just keep an eye on that.
Do you mean the developments, the way it's, okay.
Yeah. So it's basically what used to be, like if you have a lot the size of this, we only used to have 4 people in it that we would have to rescue, and now we have 100.
Okay.
It's just the high density population. Yep.
Thank you.
So I actually have a question about this. It kind of relates back to what we talked about at the schools the other night, and it's for Derek. So we talked a little bit about the planning board, what the planning board can or cannot do, but it kind of goes back to this question of impact fees, right? And last year's, I remember we were in sort of limbo about revising those impact fees. Has there been any change?
So we did hire, the planning department has hired a planning consultant to review those, and we asked them to update it from the most recent CIP matrix approved by the planning board. and we've been working with departments, so hopefully we'll bring that back to the planning board to consider revised impact fees.
I feel like that's where we were last year.
Yes, and I think what we heard from the consultant was they were considering making a recommendation to reduce impact fees. We felt that the CIP matrix did not have the police station, it did not have some of the school repairs, so that's why they've gone back and looked at this year's CIP matrix to see if that would make any change to their judgment.
So I mean, I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole either, but they thought they should be reduced because they were not competitive with other towns, or because they were insufficient, or they were higher than we could justify?
Impact fees are to pay for expansion of services, not for facilities that are currently lacking.
But building a bunch of housing developments on the north side of the river, couldn't you theoretically say, now we need a fire station on that side of the river, since you've got many more people living there? That's
And
new.
and if that fire station is in the CIP matrix, absolutely. If that fire station is not,
Then it's not in,
then
okay.
it's not, it doesn't go into the calculation.
Very, very narrow, and what you can use it for.
And Joe, we'd also talked last year about the state law changing about those expiration dates for impact fees. Do you know anything more about that?
There's been no change on that.
Okay. I mean, it seems to me like we're hearing this now across multiple departments, that these new developments are putting substantial strain on our infrastructure and our services, and there doesn't seem to be any redress for it, like serious redress for it. Peter?
I just want to, Derek, you were kind of pointing to, you can't use impact fees to cover something that's already in need of upgrade, right?
Correct.
So are you saying that was also part of why it was like, hey, you can't justify this because this department already needed that upgrade anyway, and it hasn't been.
That's a big problem that we're seeing, yes.
So does that mean, unless something changes in terms of how we approach these impact fees, obviously we could plug things into the matrix, but unless we do it, there's some drastic change, are you kind of saying like, we can't rely on impact fees to be one of the big drivers?
There's not going to be any magic. I mean, we joked after last week, and I was disappointed we didn't have any budget committee members come and chat with the department heads. But we were at the library for department heads, and afterwards we joked, maybe we should, as department heads, start throwing in $5 a week and we'll go get the mega millions. There is not going to be one silver bullet that solves everything. It's going to have to be a combination of a lot of different things.
Gotcha.
So if we had more CRF funds, could we more effectively use the impact fees?
I don't think CRF and impact fees would make a difference. I don't think, the CRF is a savings account. Impact fees are charges to new developments for increased capacity,
But it seems like impact fees on their own are not going to be enough to do these things. But if you already had money saved up for some of these projects in a CRF, then you could move on them before impact fees expire.
We have not given back any impact fees. Our departments and our school department work very hard to find qualifying projects to make sure that they do not expire and they do not go back.
Okay.
So we have not had to return impact fees.
Okay. I'm just still thinking though of like some of these bigger things that we have not been able to ever tackle, you know? It's like if we had a CRF where we were putting money for that police station and it was on the matrix, then when we get a big influx of impact fees, maybe that could help, you know, push it over the edge. I know.
Potentially. I mean, you still have to make the deposit in the capital reserve fund, and that only happens through town meeting.
Right. Okay.
I think Allison.
Allison?
How did they come up with, I mean, is it just a rate per, how did they decide the impact fee?
Oh,
Like,
it's,
is it just a super complicated?
they have a whole study that explains the math behind it on what you have for projects in out years and how to break that up.
And I'm assuming it's only a percentage, it's not like,
Correct.
okay.
Right, so one of the big ones is we've been using impact fees to study replacement for the police station. The police station, when we put that out, the initial bid we anticipate that the police station will need additional police officers. As our population grows, we're going to need additional police officers, we're going to need additional square footage. So that expansion portion would qualify for impact fees.
Is this a law or is this a town?
No, this is a state law. This falls under the land use statutes, so it's overseen by the planning board.
And it's very closely regulated.
Yes, yes, there have been towns in New Hampshire that have gotten in big trouble and had to repay a lot of money for misuse of impact fees.
Laura, did you have
Yeah, just a quick thing. So I always feel quite unsettled after this presentation, and not because of anything you guys are or aren't doing, just because it's quite clear we have a lack of service in this area. And looking at the CIP, I see that there's some vehicles coming up, and the Mass Road Station. And maybe this isn't even a question for now, and that's fine too, but is there even any thoughts about what we're going to do about the fact that, and I mean, I understand there'd be a bond, there is all this stuff that would have to happen, but like, we're quite deficient when it comes to serving this town. Like, I feel like some houses would just, I don't know, I feel like we're very deficient. And not because of, like I said, anything you guys are or aren't doing, but just because of what we've got. And like, is there a plan for this, or is anyone?
We have a very old infrastructure in the town, you know. As you know, some of the fire stations. Matter of fact, in CIP 2 years ago, there was about $1.2 million that was projected for like 6 or 7 years to renovate the Bass Road Fire Station. And you come to the realization that, you know, you can kick that proverbial can down the road, and that's what we had been doing. So what we did was we gave back the $1.2 million and asked for $20,000 so we can start piecemealing in our infrastructure and repair it that way, because we're not getting the support to, you know, upgrade these facilities.
So that's really what it comes down to, is you may put forward a different project if you felt like there would be more support from the community to fund or to even consider.
It is. For example, we just repaved the entire fire station, regraded everything up there. We used $75,000 in, recall what funds that?
COVID funds.
Some of the COVID funds. That's how we had to get it done. you know.
So, and of course, I'm talking much larger things than that, so that would be even more of a
Absolutely.
challenge.
We're just trying to listen to the community.
Yeah,
and
no, I
as-
understand.
As you'll see
I'm just like, listen
at the
to this
last
meeting.
page here is, we're really not asking for, I think we're asking for two new things.
Yeah,
All of our increases is to literally just keep on doing the minimal that we're doing right now.
and I think that's just, if I can say, I think that's just a shame that the community hasn't backed
Well,
this
there's
up.
also, the federal funding has dried up through grants,
Absolutely.
which has
Sure.
Yes.
really been a blow. Just like we saw with the lack of state building aid for the school side, the lack of federal support for these infrastructure projects for public safety has just plummeted.
This year alone, we had the generator for the high school that we approved for, that the funding disappeared for. And then we also had EMS tuition funds. We literally had a signed agreement, and then we just didn't get reimbursed, and they said, we're not getting the money. As well as the federal funds that we've used before for SCBA's and personnel have significantly decreased, and they're also changing the rules. It's actually reduced so much, the only town this year that received a grant for personnel was the town of Plymouth. They applied, got town approval for a certain percentage, and then they were awarded, and it was a completely lower percentage. So I will caution the committee, as we're starting to look at these replacement projects and stuff like that. The grants were hard enough to get before, they're even harder to get now, and even if you get them, it doesn't mean you're gonna get the same percentage that one you applied for. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. Along with the CIP that Laura's talking about, just real briefly, if you guys look at the page 11, I put in the one for, you guys had asked about mileage, hours. There's a quick calculation, because you guys had asked about that. So I put that in there just so you guys can look at that on your own time. The next page is the CIP, CRF. Again, we're just trying to maintain by doing that because of the apparatus, how long it takes to get a new apparatus in from the time that we order it. So CIP this year, our projects is $350 going to it, as Derek talked about, unreserved fund balance, because we're trying to replace an engine. We used to be able to get that engine in about 18 months to 2 years. We're now looking at 4 years. So if we wanted to replace it on time, we would have had to ask for that engine 2 years ago from you. So by doing that, you can see the replacement ages have gone up significantly because of that. Because we know the town is not going to approve us to increase 350 to 600,000 to cover this. We know that. We are listening to you guys. So yes, we're gonna have to increase our maintenance lines and that type of stuff. So that is there for you guys to see as well.
And just as a reminder too, in 2030, that tower truck that we have will be over 20 years old. And those went from $700,000-800,000 less than 10 years ago. They're now at 2.1 million. So another justification we're trying to educate the public is why we're asking for $350,000 now is to try and get us close to that, $2 million we're going to face in 5 or 6 years. Doesn't mean we're not going to try and get a grant for it, but to his previous comment, those grants we used to apply for are getting lower and lower every year. And this, there's such a competition.
The city of Portsmouth just signed a contract to replace their aerial. It's 5 years to build and costs $2.5 million. So what we've done is, because that was a question about that last year, is now on our website, if you guys haven't seen it, we did add in an apparatus section to that, so you guys can go and look at the apparatus that we currently have, some information on it, as well as there were some well-intended but unfortunately misinformation that came out during a budget committee meeting last year about the aerial. So what we've done is we actually pre-recorded a PowerPoint presentation for you guys, and you can find that on our website. It's underneath the aerial section, and it talks all about it, so that everybody has the exact same information and is factual on there. So, sorry to keep going down rabbit holes.
So can I just ask a question about the CIP, this chart?
Yeah.
So your request then is in red, right? Engine 3 and boat 1. Is that correct?
So for in 2026, on the plan is we have a engine replacement, which is really just an approval for it because we're not going to see it for 4 years.
Right.
Which also means we're also not going to pay for it for 4 years unless the terms for a prepayment is very good for that. We have to watch that very closely with the contract. So in 2026, the asks are $350 deposited, approval for an engine, car 2, which was the committee pushed off, that was supposed to be replaced last year. So we just moved it to this year, and then one of the boats.
So the car 2 is gray because it's been moved from a different year?
No, car 2 is I just did the color, you're talking about horizontally?
It's the purpose of the vehicle, so red is for
Yep.
fire vehicles, blue is for ambulance
So
vehicles.
fire
yes,
suppression
okay.
vehicles, blue is medical, and then gray is command vehicles.
Okay.
Yep, that's all.
So if you get the $350 deposit this year, there is enough in the CRF fund to cover all 3 of those? Or are you asking for additional?
I think I'll ask Derek or Danielle to answer this question.
So at some point, $350,000 a year will not be enough. We feel confident that we'll be able to order the replacement for engine 3 next year with what we have. But at some point, as 10 years ago, I think we were putting $225,000 in it annually. At some point, we'll have to make a change.
So when we sign that contract for engine 3, even though it's going to be 4 years, we're locking in a price, right?
In theory.
In theory?
Unfortunately, and that's what I give Derek and the rest of the crew props for looking over those contracts and making them as bulletproof as possible. However, communities in the state, and it depends what manufacturer, we have a very good history with the manufacturers that we've been working with. There's been other manufacturers in the state that have literally come in, the town of Wolfboro, for example, is, hey, here's your vehicle, give us an extra $250,000.
Okay.
We are starting to see escalation clauses placed in them.
Yael, did you have something you wanted to add?
Just want to make sure that the question got answered. The two boats, so the boat and the command vehicle, those two smaller items, are proposed through taxation. They are
Okay.
not going through the CRF. We retain the CRF specifically for large apparatus based on the definition of that CRF when it was established.
Okay.
So the CRF, while we're continuing to fund it, would be funding that engine, but you are going to see in your breakdown and in all your calculations to include your percentage and your proposed change for 26, the vehicle and the boat.
Okay.
So in that matrix, that's why on the far left-hand side there, you can see the capital reserve fund on that first section, and then the annual fire budget, like what Danielle's talking about,
Right.
will be coming through taxation, just regular operational increases, and then annual EMS budget covers the ambulances.
Okay. Did you have a question, Jared?
Yeah, I guess it's a new question.
Okay.
Along the same lines, could this be an individual warrant article for engine 3 that could then be locked in and not have to be reapproved every $350,000 every year in the CRF? That way it would be part of the default?
So our vision is the select board are the agents to expend from that capital reserve fund, so they, provided there is sufficient funds in that capital reserve fund, it wouldn't be a warrant article, it would just be, they would lock in a contract for that.
So let me, as a follow-up, so we're not going to look for an infusion into the CRF for engine 3 over the next couple of years?
You're actually, so engine 3 is probably, and we'd have to look at the balance, we have enough saved up for engine 3. You're starting to put aside money for tower 1.
Okay.
That's what the $350,000 this year would be.
So same kind of question for Tower 1. When would the select board look to actually expend money from a CRF? Because really what I'm coming down to, Derek, is it possible to put a warrant article in? Therefore, if it's approved by the legislative body, we don't have to go and put money in every year into a CRF. It would just be part of the default to put money into that
CRFs have to be, yeah, I don't think DRA, we can definitely look at something like that.
Because if we're breaking it out over the course of several payments, and it's clearly defined that through the, through the warrant article, I didn't know if that's a way to do it so that we don't have to do it every year.
You might be able to do a multi-year appropriation, but those are tough.
Yeah, so we've talked to DRA specifically about this for capital reserve funds, and they say that town meeting cannot lock future town meeting into CRF deposits specifically. So you can do a multi-year contract, say, for a specific service, and is a 3-year, and you have to, what they call Sanbornize it, where you show every single year's appropriation. However, town meeting can't guarantee that the next year they're going to appropriate funds for a CRF. So CRF has to be an individual warrant article every single year that you put money into it,
But
whether it's from.
I mean, it'd almost be like putting a tower on layaway, where you're telling the company that you're gonna pay every year.
Instead of using the CRF fund, I didn't know if you could do it through a general operation fund if it's an individual warrant article, therefore it's built into the default if it's approved by the legislative body. I don't know if that's possible, is what I'm
So
asking.
through taxation rather than the capital reserve fund, you mean, if we were to actually, like, say, get a contract for purchase?
It's, exactly, because it's all money that's coming out of our pocket, whether you're putting into a CRF or you're putting into an operating fund. It doesn't matter, it's still the same money being taken out at the same time.
We
for
can
each
definitely
fiscal year.
reach out to some of our peers and see if they've done it in any other way.
I just, that way, if a legislative body's approving it, that way it's a one and done, knowing that, yes, it's gonna be part of the operating budget for further years. I just didn't know if it was a possibility.
Laura had a question.
No, he hit exactly what I was
Okay.
thinking.
Peter?
I think we had asked similar questions like this last year. But in order to do it that way, there has to be an actual contract in place though, right? Because we can't just be like, say, yeah, this is part of our operational budget, and we just set it aside. It has to be an actual contract.
Yeah, funds lapse at the end of the year. There are a few exceptions to that. There are ways that you can get approval, but it's multi-year approval that we have not done at the town level, but it's something we can look into.
The reason why I say that is because I know the school, we did that through the lease purchase.
Right, and you had a contract specifically for the lease.
Exactly, so I didn't know if that's something similar that could be done. Thank you.
So I have a question about the escalation of the prices. So it sounds like you're talking about different manufacturers. So is this just straight up capitalism? There's lots of manufacturers and they're all competing.
Currently, if you go search for fire apparatus costs, Congress recently called in all the fire apparatus manufacturers.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Didn't they yell at them?
Yeah. So what's happened is we used to have these mom and pop apparatus dealers. They've now actually been taken over by hedge funds. Quite not, and if you want to Google it, the September 10th U.S. Senate hearing on this will give you more information than you need to know, but give you a very, very clear picture of what's going on.
And Congress called them out and said the delay in manufacturing fire apparatus is intentionally being done by apparatus manufacturers, right? Because they're able to commit their funds knowing 4 or 5 years down the road, their fire apparatus are going to be 2-point-something million. So if it interests you, search that out. It's quite an interesting hearing. They actually called in 2 major manufacturers, and they asked one of them how much their president and CEO made, and it was like $6 million. So,
Of course.
Well, that's only 3 engines.
That's true.
So we appreciate our politicians helping us out with that. Any other questions on CIP, CRF stuff? All right, moving on to 2026 budget. Real briefly, again, I know I already touched real quickly on it, is you have 2 pie charts here. On the top right is the 2026 fire operations budget. That's everything, where everything breaks down to, because I know that was something the committee has asked for before. Where does it go? As you can see, 83% of our budget goes to wages and benefits. As far as a 2026 increase, 81% is the wages and benefits, like we talked about already, is we're finally getting up to that 50th percentile. So that is a big portion of that. What I've done here is broken down, you have different areas. If you're looking at a single bullet point, not all the math is going to equate, because we're trying to, what we've actively done is try to keep this down as much as absolutely possible. So areas that we can reduce, because we have some expenses that we're planning on, we've reduced some areas because we know we have some larger things in. The 2 new things that we're asking for is because one of our generators, we have 3 stations. They all have generators. 2 of them are currently covered under a preventative maintenance plan. The other one has not, but it's getting to the age where it needs to be. So that is a new expense there. So that's under facility-related generated expense at Station 1. The other thing is under employee costs is fire certification classes and equipment is a door prop, because we have nothing to practice how to forcibly open a door. Not only is that prop used for us, but police department also uses that to work with their crews, so we're hoping to get that as well. Not so much in something new, but we're trying to increase underneath operation costs and supplies. 1, 2, 3, 4 up from the bottom is structural PPE. If you are not aware, cancer rate in the U.S. is about 1 in 5. In firefighters, it's 1 in 3. Obviously, our community lost someone really close to us. Bill Connor of cancer. I mean, he served this community for 44 years. Yeah. So this is something that's really near and dear to our hearts. The state legislature has also mandated new testing for our medicals. So our medicals assessments for firefighters' annual physicals has also gone up because of those additional tests. But for the structural PPE is we finally have some structural PPE that actually doesn't have PFOA and other chemicals in it that are known cancer-causing agents. Our department just started in 2025 purchasing those because they finally became available. So that means all of our other gear, we know it has chemicals in it that cause cancer. That's only one of the things that we deal with on a regular basis. I'm very proud to say that the union understands the budget and is not demanding, like other fire departments are, to put a special warrant article out and immediately change all of our gear over. I really appreciate their understanding of the budget and taxes and realize the impact that would have, not only this year, but also in 10 years when we have to replace all of it at the same time. It would spike our budget. So what we're trying to do is normally we budget for 5 sets. We're just asking to increase that from 5 to 10 sets next year, just so we can try to get our primary gear rid of this cancer-causing chemicals. So those are the only actual increases. Everything else here you're seeing, you can see is we're literally replacing stuff that is out of service currently, or we know it's going to be expiring next year, like SCBA face pieces. We have to change them out. We're not trying to increase the number of SCBAs that we have or anything like that. We are literally just maintaining what we have. Any questions on that kind of stuff?
Oh, Doug?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm curious, electricity,
Yes.
$157 increase compared to what I've been hearing from all the other departments. That is a very small increase. So is there something you're doing different?
Yep, so actually, the chief this has been one of his major projects the last 2 years, and we've also been doing it. You'll see in the previous page, I just kind of skimmed through it, is what the department has been doing is trying to go over to energy efficiency. So this Station 1, we've already replaced, I want to say about 7 or 8 different lights. We have 5 more that we're doing next week, I believe. So we're trying to get over from the halogen lights to the LED lights. Yeah, and the chief has done that already at Station 2 last year, I believe it was. Yep. So
It's made that much of an impact?
So it has made a significant impact. The other thing that we're also doing is we also changed out those lighting fixtures to motion sensors, which has also helped significantly in that aspect.
Actually, all the lighting at the fire station on Church Street is tied to motion sensor lights. So we've seen quite a difference in that.
Do you have a follow-up on Doug's, or I have a quick follow-up on Doug's?
You can follow up on Doug, yeah.
So, can I ask why the town generally hasn't adopted these same, is it not possible, or?
No, some have. I think Town Hall did a LED light.
I think we're behind the curve.
Oh,
Many
okay.
years ago.
I couldn't hear you.
I said our whole building.
Okay. Okay. All right, go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Did I hear you correctly, Ben, that each station has a generator?
That's accurate, yes.
So is with Terrell Hill, with Station 17, I think it is that because of the tower, or?
Correct.
Okay.
It's because of the tower, because that's our, that tower, if you're not familiar with that area, that tower is our radio system.
Okay.
For that entire section.
Yeah.
If we didn't have that, it would be out of the
Okay.
budget.
We also keep that building heated at like 55 degrees.
Right.
Absolutely.
You can shut the water off and drain it and everything, but for the building itself, keeping it shuttered like that just costs you more money in the long run,
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Did we beat the police chief? He challenged us that we couldn't stay up here longer than
Okay, so, is there any other business to come before the committee tonight? I don't believe there is. I just want to remind everyone, we do not have a meeting on Tuesday because it's Veterans Day. So we are back a week from tonight, and we will wrap up the town presentations that night.
Do we need to go back to this motion?
Not unless somebody wants to,
We have some questions here.
wait a minute, let me answer Sam's questions.
I don't want to put my hand in a hornet's nest, but what am I
late.
supposed to bring back to the select board?
Well, wait, so Sam's question is, aren't we have to take up this table? To take up the motion, somebody has to make a motion to untable it. So if somebody wants to do that, they can, or we can just leave it on the table for a little bit longer. Oh, God, Joe, really?
I'm not making the motion, but I
Okay.
hope that members of the select board, there was one here, there's one here, they take back this robust discussion that we had earlier, back to the board and talk maybe a little bit about that.
I have
on
a
Monday.
strong suspicion that the other three have probably watched this meeting on GTV.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, so to Derek's question, yes, so do we want to give more feedback than that? Do we need more feedback? I mean, the motion is tabled. Jared?
Well, this is just feedback for Derek. I think we already said it, is knowing that there are grants that are less than what they used to be, understanding the reduction in grants, I think would help us make a little bit more informed decisions as well. If there are increases, but grants are going to cover those increases, that's less of a conversation than there are increases and grants are actually decreasing.
Okay, anybody else? Any other comments on this? I mean, look, this is it's an impossible quandary, right? It's like, because I don't disagree that all of this is needed, that people rely on these services, that the people who work for the town are valued and we need to keep them. I wholeheartedly believe all of that. But almost everybody I know who doesn't work for the government only got a 3% pay increase last year.
Yep.
So how
If they
can we
got one.
ask them to pay for a 13% increase unless it's an unusual year? But it isn't an unusual year. 2 years ago, we asked them for an 11% increase. The year before that, I think it was an 8 or 9% increase. I don't know how to square those circles, because I totally agree. We can't fall too terribly far behind other towns, because then we destroyed our own infrastructure. I don't think there's an easy answer, but I don't think, quite frankly, that it's a matter of, well, we don't value those services. We do. We just don't know how we're going to fit those two things together. So Allison had her hand up first, and then Richard, I'll go to you.
Do you have an average impact, tax impact, if we went with this full 13% increase?
So I think that's on the bottom of,
Is it, would I do the, like?
Per 1,000.
It's like,
oh, what the average home is, we can, let me update what the average median home is, because it's probably changed since.
I'm just wondering I mean, we say 13%, but then,
What does that mean?
A dollar, like,
Well, I think-
what does that equate to for an average person's taxes?
So as the town that has a much smaller base than the school, I hate percentages.
That's kind of also what I was
Because
thinking,
13% for us is completely different.
than 13% for the school.
Yes, so,
That's why I wanted to see a
but yeah,
general
we can
dollar.
definitely, I want to check with the assessor on what the median home value. Last year was 414,000. So if you're talking 90 cents, that's $360. Really rough doing it in my head math.
But my point is, year after year after year of people's pay not going up at the same rate as their taxes are going up, it's going to get farther and farther apart of what you can do. And I don't have any solutions for that. Richard?
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that you agree with the fact that all of these things are needed. I think what we're hearing tonight through our presentations is that there's a range across our departments of woefully behind to just barely, with some lasting discomfort, finally catching up to what we need in town. From that point, it is our job as the budget committee to determine what the town can afford. So if we're in agreement that the select board has put forth a budget containing the items that we need, we are now discussing figures. And that is the job that we have to do here. And that's the last thing I would say on that.
That is true, but we also need to discuss priorities.
Indeed.
Because that's
Which of these things would you like to deprioritize?
Well, that's my question for the select board.
I think that we have prioritized the things that we need to range from woefully behind to barely catching up to what we need.
Olivia?
I would like to just clarify from what I said at the start. I don't think anyone at this table completely undervalues. Well, I shouldn't say undervalues, but I think my concern is that, like Richard was saying, where nobody's exceeding in what they have in their departments. And I think by not even looking at these not exceptional requests, that's what I meant. I don't know if I'm being clear, but that by not even looking at it, by just picking it up and saying this is so wildly inappropriate, we're not even going to look at this budget, that's what I found concerning. That said, I mean, I get it. 13.6 is a huge increase, and I'm not condoning that either. I fully understand, and I intend to do work looking at it line to line, but I think we really need to think about the fact that we're asking departments to do things like continuing to put on cancer-causing protective outerwear, because it's just not acceptable to put it.
We're not asking them to do that.
But we're saying it's okay for them to do that.
We haven't taken a vote on that. What are you talking about? The committee has not said anything about
Okay, let me
making
rephrase
firefighters
it.
wear
It's an
cancer-causing
It's an
equipment.
It's an example because
Okay.
they very clearly said that that was not put into the budget and would not be put into the budget because it would not be an acceptable ask of the town.
Okay, Peter?
Just real quick, I have a feeling if they put it as a petition, as a warrant article to get firefighters new uniforms, it would pass.
Okay. I'm going to let Peter go.
Back to the question at hand, I do not think it's going to be productive for us to send this budget back to the select board. I do hope that, and I'm sure that other members who are not here have watched our discussion, and we're going to continue to talk about what we feel as a board we can send to taxpayers. I don't think at this point it's going to be productive for us to send it back. So I guess we can leave it tabled and just kind of let it sit there, or I can make a motion to have a vote on it.
A second.
Second what?
Vote to close the.
He hasn't made the motion. He hasn't made the motion.
I thought he did, I'm sorry.
He's pre-seconding.
Yeah, I thought he made the motion, I apologize.
So we're moving that
Okay, so I will make the motion then to
Do it.
to take it off the table. Thank you. Let it die.
Now, James. He made the motion.
Okay, I second it.
All right. Do you want to, you don't speak to your untabling motion, we just have further discussion. Is there further discussion to untable and then open this discussion again? Then we open the original discussion all over again. All right. All those in favor of untabling the motion, raise your hand. Untabling means we're gonna start this discussion all over again right now.
We're
But it
trying to
might
get
not
to
be
vote
discussion, we
against
don't know
this.
that.
Or
That's
for it.
right.
It may not be.
But we have to do this first.
Olivia,
Procedural.
hold on. Olivia, Brian.
Keep your hands up.
It's basically everybody but me.
Is everybody but you?
I think so.
Is that?
Are did you vote in favor? I can't see you.
Did you vote in favor?
Totally fine with addressing this tonight.
If you voted in favor, then it's
All right,
everybody
then
but
it's
me.
everybody but you.
And I'm gonna vote no.
Check. And that was Peter and James.
Okay.
Thanks for bearing with me, guys.
All right. So now we are back to Joe's original motion. Do you want to speak? Go ahead, Joe. You had your hand up first.
Yeah, I mean, this is not stopping me from making the motion again at another meeting, so I don't know why we're doing this, but I'm okay to vote on the record, sending it back to select board.
Okay. Is there any other further discussion? Okay. Then I'll call the vote. All of those in favor of sending the budget back to the select board for further consideration, raise your hand. So that is Izzy, Joe, Doug, Mark, Brian, and me.
You, Brian,
Mark,
Yep.
Doug, Joe, and Izzy.
okay.
Okay, all those opposed, raise your hand. So I should have just done abstentions, so then we could have just done this by the process limits. But that's Olivia, Peter, Allison, James, Rich, Laura, and Richard. And Jared. Oh, Jared, do I have any extensions? One extension is Jared. Okay, so what's the count? It failed. Joe,
Yeah.
the motion failed. We will not send the budget back to the select board
Tonight.
tonight,
but
at
maybe
least.
next time.
And we will continue forward as we were anyways.
And can I seek a very minor piece of clarification? Joe stated that he could make the motion again. I think if a motion has failed, someone in the prevailing side has to make that motion. to
That is
reconsider.
correct. That is correct. Someone else has to make the motion if it gets made again.
It might not be the same motion. It might be a different motion.
It's fine.
You're killing me, Joe. All right.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
No, wouldn't that be nice? Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, Sam made the motion.
Nobody seconded it.
I got yelled at. I asked if we do, because I thought that we were done.
We don't have any more business, so Brian makes the motion, right? To adjourn. Is there a second? All right.
Wait, I don't know who said second.
You got your pick. Mark, James, Peter. Yes, just write somebody's name down. All those in favor of adjourning, raise your hand. Any opposed or abstentions? No. We are adjourned. Okay, GTV.